Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of Second Breakfast. How's everybody out there doing? I am peachy, having a great day. Running a little bit behind, but I think I managed to squeak in just under the wire, so all's good. Still kind of too hot to paint, but I will have some great news about paint coming up soon. Those of you guys know, there's some interesting things afoot going on in the paint world. And what's up, Shellback? How did the heavy lifting go? Not too strenuous, I hope. I came up here and there's this freaking miniature on the floor, and I'm like, how the hell did it get down there? I think the boy was up here fiddling around and maybe he knocked something over because that could have been tragic. Tragic is actually the fact that this Archon piece I've had uh, for about 3 years, and I still haven't been able to figure out how to glue it to the base because it's so precise. Uh, yeah, and yes, I did watch the video on Archon Studio, and uh, Prodos, I think, was the previous company, and all that, and I really don't know what to make of it. I mean, they've been so good to us over the years, and we do owe them a debt of gratitude. Um, but some of the stuff back then is a little disconcerting. Uh, the video's out there. I forget who did it out. Maybe I'll share it with you guys. Um, but I also know that back in the early days of Kickstarters and things like that, and even today, there are folks out there who have some serious money managing issues, getting things, all their ducks in a row, and having to rob Peter to pay Paul, that kind of thing. Fortunately, our friends over at Emperor's Choice have never ever had anything like that because, well, they're professionals, they're class acts, and uh, they did their homework and they make sure that whatever it is they're kickstarting is pretty much done. You don't ever have to worry about that sort of thing with those guys. Archon Protoss for yeah, I think it was the Alien versus Predator game type of thing. Mac, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Other than the fact that you're homesick today, but to be honest, when I was a youngster, some of those stay home from school sick days were some of the best days of my life. So cheers, get well soon, buddy. Miss you at the Sunday game. Not gonna lie, we do miss you. Um, that game was actually pretty fun. Having a lot of interesting things going on with those guys. Unfortunately, Armstrong uh, hit the dismiss, not the snooze button, and missed the entire session. But the fact that he's even trying, considering the time difference, I mean, he wakes up at like 1 a.m. or some junk like that to play with us till like 4 in the morning, and then he goes back to sleep for like 2 hours and gets up for work. That's some serious freaking dedication, man. I mean, and he's been doing it for like better part of 3 years or more. So just wow. What's up? Off grid. I'm dropping in to say hi. I've got to get to town and pick up one of my chainsaws from the shop. Well, that's actually that sounds like fun. That sounds like a good day. Any day with a chainsaw in your hand uh, is a great day. I got lazy. As a matter of fact, thank you for reminding me. It's almost time to order the firewood for this coming season. I got a really good deal on probably what was closer to two cords than one and a half, or at least one and a half, for like $300, I think, delivered. But they just dropped it in my front driveway, and I had 2 hours to move the entire lot out of the prying eyes of the wife until I sprung it on her when it was cold. Like, oh yeah, I ordered this. And she's like, what? Oh my god, blah, blah, blah. It's gonna make spiders appear. And I'm like, that's not how anything works. If that was the case, we'd be overrun by spiders. Mostly because we get black widows here, and it's terrifying. But she's got this weird notion that just having stuff for spiders to live in makes spiders live there. And that's not entirely, like I said, how that works. But by the end of the first month, she's like, "You gonna put some more wood on the fire?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, baby. I'll throw some more wood on the fire." Yeah, yeah. Papa did a good thing, which is funny because I was the only one who was really enjoying it. For the most part, I mean, like within visual distance, but the rest of the house could feel it, and they were, they loved the shit out of it. Me personally, I love the smell. Just the whole house just smells like freaking burnt wood. I love that shit. Um, and Only mice and wasps here when I pile wood, but I trap and spray them. Uh, Wasp, that's interesting. That's fucked up. And mice, yeah, not a fan of those little guys either. I actually found a squirrel in my garage last week. I think because I opened the door and he came in to explore. I hope he wasn't there all night because back when we first moved here, we had a problem with voles, VOLEs, in our front yard, and they had managed to get into where I was storing cans of food, ate the labels off a bunch of stuff, which was really fucked up. But they also went into this drawer, like away from the door, like really far away, right? And started eating the plastic clamshell cases for some old Tom Dye original sort of recast dungeon dwellers after Heritage, and he acquired them. They were eating into the plastic cases, those old clamshell plastic cases for miniatures and dice, just chewing on the plastic. There's nothing else in the drawer. I mean, literally, to this day, that's all that's there. But there's like half a dozen of those packs with little rodent teeth holes. It was just like, what the seriously? Uh, uh, but we gassed the shit out of them, and that put an end to that real quick. And they have not come back, so that's good. We do have a lizard. The same lizard has been living over here on the side of my house between me and my neighbor's house for years. It's the same one. He's just still kicking. I mean, back when Jackie was in elementary school, so like more than 5 years. I'll go out and take out a bag of trash and I'll spook him, or he'll be hanging out on the wall watching me, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" He's like, "Dude, just hanging out," and getting a little bigger, a little longer, a little fatter, but doing fine. All by his lonesome. That must suck. No more, no lady lizards to hang out with, or I don't know how that works, but we've got some interesting wildlife out here. We got roadrunners off in the desert, and lots of rabbits. That was so much fun for Jackie when he was a little boy. We'd ride up to the desert where we had our little secret entrance that we could sneak in. Uh, just not really a gecko because he's kind of like fat in the middle. Definitely not an iguana or horned. He's just like your basic run of the mill, kind of pudgy looking lizard. I mean, he literally looks kind of chubby in the middle. But he's a decent fella. Doesn't bother us. Doesn't go into my shit. Doesn't like hiss or spit at me or try to attack me and claw my face. Just looks at me. I look at him. Sometimes he'll run away because I'm a giant and he's a little bitty guy, but it's cool. But we'd ride up to this fence, and behind this one bush there was this someone else had broken out some of the bars, so we could move our bikes in there, and then go into the desert and ride down the hill, which was fun. Because it was the first time he was like, in his little bike with training wheels, or actually it was after the training wheels, and he'd ride, and if you weren't careful, you'd fall into the river bed, which was like a 3 foot drop, which would have been like a big owie for him. But he'd always stop and skid and be like, yeah, But it was a pretty steep hill, and the first couple of times I was like, oh, this could be bad. But he did it with style, and we had fun, and we'd go. But before we get to the secret entrance, there's this little kind of like a park, not really a park, but a little done up area, grass and bushes. It looks nice, nowhere to sit or anything. It's just a little part of the side of the road that's all grassy and whatnot. And there was just like a dozen or more little rabbits just running around, running into their little rabbit hole when we'd roll up. But if we were real quiet, it's like do the Elmer Fudd thing, and there'd be the little rabbits, hopping around doing rabbit stuff. I guess looking for carrots or something. I don't know what rabbits do, but and then we'd ride down the hill and we'd see the roadrunner tracks. I was talking about tracking the other day, and I'd show, is that a coyote or is that a dog? And eventually be able to figure out which is which. And gotta be careful. Coyotes will freaking, you know, eat a little guy like you up in like 2 bites. And then there would be, the giant freaking turkey-sized crows that we've got out here. Seriously, they're like this freaking big, from tail to beak, and like this big around. If we were ever starving, I wouldn't eat them because they're probably nasty as shit. But they leave us alone. They don't leave the cats alone, though, man. They will hunt those. They hate cats for some reason. It's like an ongoing war. We were in the desert one time, and we were actually filming one of Jackie's little videos, and we saw this little black and white cat, again about yay big, sneaking through the rocks because the crows were circling and dive bombing him, trying to get him or her. I'm guessing the cat had, probably, gotten into a nest or something, and or maybe they're just assholes and they don't like cats. I don't know, but it was really really interesting to watch them coordinate and circle. One would dive bomb, he'd come up, and then another would circle and come down and dive bomb the cat. And they just followed that poor cat all the way into the next neighborhood. It was just like, don't get on the crow's bad side, man. They'll take your house pet out. And of course, Chewy, he sees those things. He sees any bird in the backyard and he goes after him because I taught him to chase him away. He's never caught a bird. No, he did once. And that was really sad. It was a little like finch or something. Just a little, it was on the rose bushes, and when Chewy got it, we heard a pop. He literally popped it. Uh, yeah, off grid. Except up here and even up here, I did that. But early on, there was just no. I mean, polio. He was 6 foot tall and 110 pounds on his best day. But I outdid him in just about everything in life. One way or the other, and because of his situation, he wasn't uh, magnanimous about it. He was always bitter and tired and weak and sick. And half my life he was more than half my life he was on a ventilator, um, and it wasn't the same as what you're talking about. It's a shame, but he did teach me a lot of shit that I don't think any other father could have taught me. And uh, because of his interest in other things, I got into some of the things that I did. Some of the things I got into, he was not a fan of, especially religion. But I mean, you kind of can understand that how that would be. When I started wearing one of these, he was like, what the hell, why are you wasting your time, that sort of thing, because it wants to know. To quote the guy from Dirty Harry, right? It needs to know. Click. But I had other people, other mentors in my life that also uh, helped me learn great things and do some pretty cool stuff over the years. Speaking of cool stuff, check this out. This is a gaming channel, right? I got this piece of 3D terrain yesterday, and what's up, Mobius? I'm almost ready to already call it, finito, done. I don't know if you can see the green and the monoliths. I have this color, I'll show you in just a second, that I always use uh, for things like this. And it does open up, which is kind of pointless because there's really nothing in there. But, it was like $9 or $12 for it. and it's pretty sturdy. We were talking, a friend of mine and I, about 3D prints and metal miniatures and stuff like that. But this, I mean, I couldn't break it if I, unless I really, really tried. If I dropped it, one of these might snap off. Easy fix. You can see the layer lines, but because it's be careful off grid. We'll see you tomorrow or maybe tonight. Who knows? Safe travels. But for what I wanted, I saw it and I'm like, yeah, I could definitely use that, whether it's on a battlefield or an RPG table. Entrance to the dungeon. Got to start somewhere, right? But the color I've used since the early days of the channel, we did some Cthulhu monuments, and every time I think about like Cthulhu monuments, especially that Robert E. Howard story, where the cultists are like killing babies on that big monolith with the frog on top. I think it was a frog. I always got this image of this color. It's called Scaly Hide. The label's so old you can't read it because of wrinkles. But this color right here, I always do a dry brush on right over the before I go on to the white or the what do you call it, ivory or parchment or whatever color. What's happening, squirrel? But I always undercoat or a dry brush this color on things like that, and then I'll go over it with maybe a little bit of a green wash if there's like runes and shit. It's my dog named Chewy, and then I will hit it with like a dry brush of parchment or ivory, and then just a slight edge highlighting on the large edges of the rocks with a cold white. But this color always go to it. It's a very dusty green. Yes, Chewy, and he's just about 16 years old now. Is he down there? Yeah, he's down there, hanging out. Follows me everywhere I go. We don't have cats. We don't do cats here. Um, my boy and I are allergic to them, and I don't. I just cannot have an animal on my dinner table, my dining table. This table here, can you imagine what a cat would do? Just because, or my countertops, or my up high areas where they love to go hide. No, not. I cannot have that here. There's too many things that are precious to me and valuable. Some things that are actually very, very valuable that I've got downstairs that a cat even looked at them. Um, that would be his last day here. Maybe one day Jackie will get a cat because he kind of wants one. But it's like your place, your rules, my place, my rules. No cats. Um, yeah, cats pee on game books. Cats do not. Um, they do not behave in a way that's conducive to my lifestyle. If I tell my dog to come, he comes. Tell him to sit, he sits. Roll over, he rolls over. If I tell him no, he gets sad, but he obeys. If I tell a cat no, it's like, huh, okay, maybe not right this minute, but as soon as you turn your back, I'm going to do whatever it was you didn't want me to do, which might or might not include shitting in your shoes, which is another thing my dog would never dream of doing. Now, when he was a puppy, funny story, pissed me off story, but uh, when he was just a little guy, I mean, not even a year old, of course, he followed me around and wanted to be around us and loved us with as much of his little bitty heart uh, as he could. So much so that I got a package one day, and it was a very old Ral Partha or RAFM uh, Call of Cthulhu box set. Really rare, really hard to find. And I left it somewhere. Unfortunately, that somewhere was somewhere he could get it. I went back to go find it. It was gone. I find him chewing the crap out of the box. And all he did was ruin the box, which kind of one of the more important parts of a collectible item is the packaging. Believe it or not, the more intact and nicer it looks, the more the overall item inside or the overall thing is worth, and it's worthless now. The minis inside are still awesome. They're bright and shiny, even though they're lead, which blows my mind when you get bright shiny lead still shiny after 50 years. Oh my god, that is just like, oh, it's like, oh, you're gonna survive another 10 to 25 years. Yeah, Exnard. Uh, I know they can't help being what they are, but what they are is assholes, and just not enough room in this house for one more asshole. There just isn't. If you've got a farm or property, hell yeah, go ahead, have them. They're not coming in though. Nope, nope, not coming in the house. And I know for some people they're great, but they're never going to be as cool as a dog. A dog is loyal. A dog will die for you. A cat will help the other guys kill you, knowing that they get to eat you. Okay, to me that's not an equitable mutual coexistence kind of situation. I know a dog will eventually eat you also if he's left alone with your corpse, and nobody to feed him eventually will do that. But I mean, we'll do that with people too. We got no other choice. It's in the history books. Um, but it is not like looking forward to it. He'll be crying the whole time. Wake up! I don't want to keep eating you. Wake up! I mean, a dog can literally die of sadness because of something bad happens to you, right? Right, Shellback. A dog. I mean, that's fucking amazing if you think about it. The whole rest of the animal kingdom, with the exception of maybe horses, and even a horse, be like, nah, well, I guess he's not going to ride me anymore, but I'm going to go eat some grass. That's it. They're not. I've never had. I've ridden horses and been around horses plenty, but I never got the impression that they were like, you know, that attached to us as a dog is. Um, I mean, and they'll die for you. They'll they'll run into a burning house to get somebody. They'll freaking do all kinds of crazy shit for us. And like I said, literally the entirety of the rest of the animal kingdom, it wouldn't give two shits if we were gone. Which is why I really want to play Pugmire. Been waiting years, probably like 4 years, right, Omen? If you're out there, like 4 years since we had that discussion with DM James, the stranger I never see anymore, never calls, never writes, too busy playing Conan Exiles. That game must be awesome for him to be that into it. But that game sounds like a lot of fun if you've ever looked into it. Pugmire, it's like Gamma World, but with no humans, just dogs and cats, and everything else has been kind of uplifted, and the humans have disappeared, leaving behind their stuff, and the dogs and the cats. Okay, Shellback, maybe, but a lot of the horses, I've been around, you really only had like two owners tops. And Chewy had two sets of owners, the previous and us, and I don't. I wonder if they came over for some weird reason, if he would like recognize them, or if he would be like, who are you?" Um, it's been so long. I mean, 15 years, 16 years, whatever is a long freaking time. But they say they can remember certain smells for a long ass time. I once upon a time I had the opportunity to buy a horse and some land, and I passed on it, and I never really looked back. But as I got more and more into Western gaming and things like that, I'm like, I wonder what it would have been like. But then remember that essentially I'm pretty lazy, so probably wouldn't have been a good idea. I tell you what, as nice as the old house is, I won't miss these Japanese sandpaper texture walls, nor the corkboard texture ones. Um, I don't know anything about any of that. I always, uh, for us, and I'm sure I'm not alone. All we ever picture are those like rice paper partition walls, in the old kung fu movies that people just like crash through. Like how is that you know enough? You know what I mean? I'm glad we have the walls that we do. I wish they were stouter, but if you have any stories you care to share exploring your local wilderness like Joshua Tree Park or Mojave Desert or Death Valley, just a little bit of desert we have. We got this area we call Mars. But oh my God, look who it is, Timmy. How you doing, Les? Really nice to see you hanging out this morning. I'm in a game with Bubba and him, and he's a good friend of DM James, and he just recently subscribed. I've known him for years. It's like, I'm not getting notifications. Well, you got to be subscribed to get the notifications, and if you hang out long enough, you'll get your secret decoder ring and the secret messages every 13th Tuesday of the year. I think it is. I forget. I'll have to go look it up in the field guide manual and see when that is. When Jackie was very very little, yeah, the first movie he ever saw in the theater was John Carter, which is awesome because his first concert was Blue Oyster Cult, um, and a lot of his firsts were thanks to this guy. And so he and his mom and grandma they'd take walks, and there's this little bit of desert, and growing up as a kid, right after he'd seen that movie, they started calling this little area the desert Mars. So we've got like code names for places here, should there ever be like an emergency or just, we've sort of renamed things in our own, lore. They have a lot of earthquakes. Thin walls are better there, I guess, so you don't get crushed and stuff like that. But for privacy and things, just I know that's also not like a thing. There's certain things that they do that we would just be like, well, perish the thought. But different places, different cultures. If you're digging it, Shellback, I mean, I could see why. I mean, just for the like sci-fi fantasy anime kind of toy culture that they have ever since I was a little kid. I knew about that stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff is way better than our stuff. Like Microman and Takara and things like that. Exploring those areas between mid-February through mid-April is something on my bucket list. It was a wet spring, wildflowers in the desert. Yeah, we've got this area of these like orange poppies that are absolutely beautiful, and they're in this like confined area, but they've started springing up just in random places out here. And we've got this other thing. I mean, it's probably a weed, but we've got it here, and every year we get at least one. Sometimes we get a bunch of them, and I think they're absolutely stunning, beautiful. They're these tall plants with green with purple or burgundy. I'm going to say burgundy, like veins in the leaves, and then it's got this big bushy, like giant cattail sort of affair. That's also this beautiful burgundy color, and you sometimes see these things in like the dry flower section of your craft store, Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever, and they grow up big and tall and have these big bushy burgundy. It's almost like a big bud. You know what I'm talking about? Like just like but purple or burgundy, and they're gorgeous. We've got cactus everywhere, and we've got Joshua trees out here. There's even a really neat little grove of Joshua trees by Jackie's old school that certain people have kind of turned into a little campsite out in the middle of the freaking it's blazing hot desert. Then there's these like 4 or 5 Joshua trees that grow up and make like a gazebo. It's really kind of neat. And I know homeless people use it and other people use it. Growing up, I always imagined the secret Dakota ring to be a ring that fit on your finger like a signet ring. It wasn't until a few years ago that I realized they were just no, 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 no. There are look up Captain Midnight Dakota ring. They were a signet ring, and I was actually looking to buy one because they're pretty rare, but they're out there. About $100, maybe 150, 200, depending on whether it like still had the box and stuff. Which there's a few of those out there. Captain Midnight was a radio show or a TV show. I think it was a radio show that helped sell Ovaltine, and the message was really usually drink your Ovaltine. I'm not even kidding. Um, but look into it. It's a neat little piece of Americana that now I mean it's like you it's all digital crap and apps and codes and things like that, or subliminal messaging, or other weirder higher tech versions of the same thing, and it's never as cool as it was back in the day. Even I was looking at some of those. I think I still have one. I forget who, but I've got this old ray gun from like the 1930s or 40s, and it's just like cheese city. It's like two pieces of tin, like almost vacuum formed, like, but then they're like pressed together, and there's like the seam running along the whole outside of the gun, along the edge where the two pieces of metal clamshelled together, and we're bent over it, but it's got like a whirring, clicky thing, so that when you pull the trigger, it makes a weird mechanical noise. For back then, now it just sounds like your garbage disposal kind of chewing up something it's not supposed to. Um, but I was just thinking about how back then as cheesy and as well, just like Timu as it looked, right? Uh, Take care, Mobius. You too. Uh, for the kids of the era, it was like the shit. I mean, it would be like you getting your PlayStation 5 or your first PlayStation, or I mean, it was just like a huge deal. The same with the cowboy holsters with the cap guns. We tried getting that for Jackie. I think he had some for a little while, but it was impossible trying to find any Lone Ranger or Roy Rogers stuff to watch as a kid. But he did have a little bit of that, so much so that when Red Dead came out, he was like, "Yeah, I'm getting Red Dead. I'm gonna play it." Loved it. The whole you know you know that whole vibe of the wild west, and living where we do. We do see people walk by or ride by on horses. At the parade every year, there's uh, lots of people on horses. There's different organizations that come to or live around our town and do that. Uh, Joshua trees, or the poppies we have. I don't know what the other thing is. The purple plant. It grows every year, uh, and it's definitely not agave. I've seen those, but they're not around here. But we have 2 or 3 different kinds of cactus. Lots and lots and lots. I mean, lots of freaking tumbleweeds. Those videos where the car gets stuck? We've seen that. Okay, we've been driving down this one particular road, and out of nowhere, dust storm picks up, and here they come. And it's almost like, for me at least, yeah, we've got both Red Deads. If you are, I've seen if they're more than 10 feet away. Uh, yeah, Jackie loves that game. I started playing it, but I didn't get. I just didn't have the time to sit and just do that. I really wish I did, but it's not going anywhere. But the tumbleweeds will just come in and just uh, it's like our own version of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, if you can imagine that, because they just come in, uh, in force and just just make a mess of things. There was one time when Jackie and I we had ridden our bikes to the local Walmart because like summer vacation, and on the way back, and mind you, he was only like 2 years out of his training wheels, maybe three um, or four, but this dust storm hit us, and we were riding our bikes, and the dust storm was so furious. I had to give him my sunglasses and hook him up with like either a bandana or something, and his helmet on almost backwards, you know. And I told him just look down, just follow the road, make sure you're on sidewalk, follow the road all the way home. I'll lead the way and block as much of it as I can. And it was what would normally take us tops 15 minutes took us an hour and 15 minutes to get home. It was brutal, but I'm kind of glad he had that experience. Um, the rest of his friends, every last one of them, was inside. Probably didn't even know what was going on. But hopefully, I was able to impart that little bit of what to do if something like that ever happens again. And probably next time it happens, he'll be in his car and he'll just like pull off to the side of the road and just you know watch videos on his phone until it goes away. Right? If you would have told us back in the day, right, about cell phones, and if our future selves could tell us what cell phones are going to do in the future, we'd start smashing them now. I guarantee it. I hate having to take mine with me, but the wife is at this point where um, she calls me more when we're in the store, on one shopping trip on a Saturday than she does all week, because she'll get lost or she'll forget what she's doing or, things like that. And what am I looking for? Where are you? It's weird, but my phone's got this little tracking device, and I can follow it, and it'll actually have this pointer arrow to where she is in the store. So I'll sneak up on her. It's like, how'd you know where I was? Um, because you put this on my phone. It could work the opposite way. She could find me, but she never does that. Um, I tried to play. Uh, well, you ever heard of C. Buckthorn? I was shave soap shopping Sunday, and it was one of the scent options. Um, no, I haven't. I always go for the it's I think it's clay and charcoal, and it's actually really much nicer than you think. It's actually awesome, but it's like a gray soap, and it's got like sand in it. I don't know what the hell that's for. It's like, since when did that become like a thing? You have a problem down at the factory, but I guess it's some sort of exfoliating thing. I mean, if you told your folks back in the day or your grandparents, in the future they're going to put sand in our soap, it's going to be a good thing. They'd have freaking smacked you with a wooden spoon, and told you to get outside and quit your storytelling, right? Or maybe they did that back in the day and then they stopped. I don't know. Um, Weirder still is when you understand how they make soap. That's just like, they're kidding me, right? I'm going to take this and this, and that's going to make me clean. That sounds like it's going to make me really gross, right? But I guess not. I guess not. I don't know. I don't need exfoliating with my razor involved, right? There's all sorts of tumbleweed video mini documentaries, and people think it's some ridiculous old Western movie cliche. Not out here, man. Not out here. Um, and even when it's just like a little bit of a windy day, like just like a 10, 20. Excuse me, oh my goodness, like a 10, 20 minute gust, we'll get one or two freaking tumbleweeds trying to get in my backyard from a very specific route. Um, on the side of my house, there's a gate where the trash cans are, and they're either trying to get into the trash cans where they belong, or they're trying to get into my backyard to like make more grow. It's weird because the way the wind blows and everything, there's plenty of places for them to get caught up in my front yard. But no, they want to go around the side and try and get in. It's the weirdest thing. Just super super weird how they want to go there. But at least one time we were going down this particular road, and it's always just one road, and we almost got stuck with the road just being jammed up with these things, and of course, the wife just freaking panics because she's driving, and I don't, and like, what do I do? What do I do? Just freaking plow through them. They will crunch up and get disintegrated. Don't worry about it. But if you sit here, the longer you sit here, the harder it's going to get because they're just going to start piling up on the car. And next thing you know, someone's going to think we're just a big old pile of freaking tumbleweeds and go, yeah, we're going to push through it, smash into us. Kind of like, when you jump on a pile of leaves and there's a rock underneath it. Oh, fuck, I hate that. We don't get a lot of that. As a matter of fact, our house is probably the only house. Now there's another house that actually produces leaves during the fall, and they're they're really nice. As a matter of fact, I got one of those leaf punches. Where you take construction paper and and it makes little tiny leaves for your terrain. I just started using real leaves for that, so I get a more accurate color because construction paper just looks like construction paper no matter what you do to it. You try to like stain it or anything with paint or washes, and it just it just doesn't look right at all. But if you actually try to do it out of actual leaf material, it works. The only problem is eventually they dry up so much that they just disintegrate on your miniature base. I'm actually really really looking forward to fall already. I know it's August. But I'm really, really just about burnt with this heat. Not being able to paint right now when I'm talking to you guys. I should be working on my speed stick speeder. Now that I think about it, where are the? Oh, it's way over there. Not too far to get, so I guess not until later tonight. I'll work on it during Bloodworth's game. But yeah, I got so many things I've been picking up and going. Okay, this is gonna be for the fall. We'll do all the vampire cool stuff. For that season. So I need to knock off a bunch of these things that are on my table. Uh, Everyone is ready for fall already. I know, right? Um, Between the different, it's so weird. Like because for this channel, ever since we started in August, which today, tomorrow, the next day is OGGM's birthday and the day we started this channel. And August, September rolled around with the channel, and we started doing Halloween crafts, me and the boy, and every September, October, November since then. We're going to be starting our seventh year this week. Will be the beginning of our seventh year. We started in 2020, uh, during COVID, and we did. We have so many boxes of Halloween crafts. Now, mind you, we've got a lot of winter and Christmas crafts that we made for the show as well. But Halloween just takes the freaking cake. The only reason the spring summer is even close, if you guys remember when we made that giant sea serpent, I kid you not, we made a paper craft sea serpent for our tabletop that one piece alone is this big, but it's like three. It's like your typical, Loch Ness sea serpent with the loops coming in and out of the water. and the tail coming out at the back end, and you could, since they were separate pieces, you could make it look as big as you want. We did every single scale individually with some cardboard. It was actually backing board from old comic books, and it takes up a big box. But we did a bunch of spring, summer, high seas adventure crafts, including the volcanic island and the some of the other big crafts we've done. But even all those wouldn't take up as many boxes or as much space as the stuff we did for Halloween. Man, it's funny finding RPG diehards with elaborate miniature, with artificial material for terrainscapes, with all sorts of durable sticks, pebbles, moss, twigs, and debris. That dude, um, since day one, we've never bought sand or gravel. We've made tree ants out of twigs. One of the crafts we did was we made three or four evil trees. We call them. You can watch that video wherever. Out of twigs and sand, white glue, and googly eyes, and I tried to make them look as terrifying as possible, but with HR Puffin stuff in mind. If you remember the trees in that show, as a kid, they scared the crap out of me. And as a grown up, doing certain things late at night with my friends at the park, I would always remember those things and be like constantly looking out for those things. And it was quite amusing. Uh, but we had a lot of fun making things like that with all the stuff around here. We made many a journey to the desert area for things. One time we even found. I know this is gonna sound crazy, guys. Like most of the stuff I talk about doesn't sound crazy. Um, we found this piece of glass, right, that had shattered, but it was somebody had tossed it right in the desert, and it was in a very specific place that we knew and we could find it very easily. But it was all of these like long, rectangular, shattered pieces of a window or something, um, and they're all yeah, a couple right here. I can show you. You see these little rectangular pieces of glass? We found those out in the desert, along with the quartz, and the white stuff around the bottom is crushed quartz. Hope you can't see that. And this guy, well, they light up when the batteries are properly activated. These things light up, and we made this terrain. The only thing that's store bought is this icicle we got from the dollar store, and we got a bunch of these. And then the bottom, the base, is made out of foam core. But everything else we found out in the desert, and those pieces of glass just worked perfectly as you know crystal formations. And let's see if this one will light up. Hey, can you see it? Off, on, but yeah, it lights up, and we made probably 10 of these, and we got all the glass from this one little corner of the desert, carried them carefully home in a couple of bags, not to cut ourselves, but we did that. And Jackie's mom had no idea sometimes the crazy stuff, she'd be filming, and we were working with I would crush glass, or I'd crush rocks, or the one time we used the barbecue lighter on the styrofoam to make the volcanic island. The entire texture of that uh, the entire texture of the volcanic island was burnt with a barbecue lighter. We just glued mass amounts of styrofoam, and Jackie just had so much fun. Oh my god, he had so much fun. Of course, we did most of it outside. We did a little bit of it on camera, just to freak people out. But we had the fans going, and there was like no danger of any issues. But he had so much fun, just like Are you sure it's okay to yeah, 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 take the lighter, just melt it and make it look like rock. Oh, it was awesome. Uh, Xnard, you know how the DMG Appendix A has random wilderness biome generator hex crawl? I found an improved method. Just doodle with crayons or magic markers on green or tan hex paper, like an aerial photo of what real terrain looks like, a bird's eye view. Yeah, I'm not a big a hex crawl guy. Um, in the procedural way. I mean, we'll do overland adventures all the damn time, but for the most part, the campaign I was running, or I'm still running the D&D campaign, it's all on the ocean. So there's really, one hex is pretty much the same as the next, with you know, excuse me, with a few islands in between. But for the most part, it was just days and days and days and weeks and months of journeying on the big wide water world until they got to the location, and then uh, they would do stuff, and get in troubles and have adventures, and then get back on the boat and go to the next place. Um, and for another game, the one that I'm working on, I'm actually working on the map right now for my AD&D espionage game, and I'm doing a bit of that. But each hex, it's kind of. I mean, you could probably look at the map and guess what's there. Even when it's kind of wilderness, you're like, yeah, you're wandering monster table or encounter table would probably look like this. If I gave a person a pen and a piece of paper, write down 12 things you think you might encounter in this hex, they're going to get like 7 or 8 of them right, because it's really uh, down to the roots kind of fantasy D&D. Not necessarily entirely by the book, but definitely a lot of what you expect, except the mystery that the players are going to be involved in uncovering and solving, and the death cult that's going to be their main nemesis throughout a healthy portion of the game, until they find out if something's behind the death cult, or if there's other factions. And I haven't figured out any of that yet, because that's their job. But I got 3 players for it. I need 2 or 3 more. Actually, I need 2 more, because I don't want to have more than 6 people. Maybe 7, if everybody uh, picked a character, and we had all of them full up. Which it's going to be interesting, because I'm hoping that there's going to be a paladin in the party. They really need a paladin, but there's going to be an assassin in the party, and everybody's going to know he's an assassin. That's his job, but he works for the king, and he's loyal to the king, and as is everybody else. But we're going to see how far we can push that, because uh, and I found the perfect way to make it so that um, it makes sense, and it's legal, if you will, by the book, because the paladin has rules, and the assassin has a rule, and well, the king makes the rules. So the king is saying, you guys are going to be my Avengers team, my secret spy group, to go and do my black ops jobs that I can't trust any of these sycophants with. It's going to be fun. But like I said, I just need a couple more players, someone to run the paladin. We need a cleric. We've got a magic user. We've got a ranger, and we have either the thief or the assassin. But we definitely still need a cleric and a paladin, and maybe a monk. Not DM James. Sorry, James L has been to turn me on to this British show. I forget the name of it. You out there, James? You can hook me up with the title of it. This like Franciscan Franciscan monk who solves crimes back in the Middle Ages. It's kind of cool, um, but he's going to be more like the monks from Beastmaster. What day? What time? I don't know. I think it's kind of old. Oh, what day is the game? The game is Wednesday nights, about 5 p.m. my time to about 8 ish. Maybe we might start early, 4:30 to between like 4:30 to 8:30 tops. Wednesday nights, and so far we got some good people that are going to join. People I've played with before. One person I played with before, but not as their dungeon master, and very very AD&D, like old school. I'm not going to be doing any Gonzo shit. No, like the ancient technology instead of magic. There may be psionics, but probably not. Even though I was reading something somewhere where there was a priest who had what could only be described as psionics, um, but it was still cool. Do you own a copy of the Monster Overhaul? If so, do you use it? I've never heard of the Monster Overhaul, so no, don't use it. Never heard of it. Um, you want to send me a link? I'll take a look. Um, but the game, for the most part, is going to be very old school. The only real difference is that the characters are going to be from not the upper like top echelon of nobility, but they're within a family or two of the crown. Thus, they regularly bump into the king, and the king notices, hey, that young man or that young lady would be perfect for my undercover group of people I need to trust to help me solve this problem. If it were Thursdays, I could join, but I'm usually dead tired at that Wednesdays. Thursdays is the cursed night for gaming. It was Friday or Sunday night, I would be interested for sure. Thursday is just thanks, Mac. Yeah, Thursday is cursed, man. Every time I've ever tried to run a game on Thursday, I might do it Fridays, but it would have to start later. I totally understand, Mac. Friday might, but it would have to start later because Friday we always go out to eat, and I've Mac. I used to run games on Friday night, um, and I will see. I'll have to talk to the guys if Friday's an option. What's up, Coochie? But like Thursday, it's just like it's always. Uh, my players' wives say no Thursday because you're already going to be playing Friday and Saturday. You don't need to be playing 3 nights in a row. You've got a wife. Me, 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 me. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I don't have that problem, but uh, because I do stuff with the family on other times and places, and with Jackie, go on as much as he is, and his mom just wanting to go to sleep when she gets home or just gel out. You know, it's not a problem. And I think my dog just farted. If you wondered what that look on my face is, I'm pretty sure my dog just freaking cut one. Just silent but deadly. I'm just dying here. Um, he's old. As long as he don't, crap the floor, we're good. But if he does, he will never come back in here, and he'll just have to, suck it up. Um, but yeah, my eyes are watering, man. It's brutal in here. But yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself a little with this new game and see if I can do things the way they like a lot of other people do things, and uh, like I was talking earlier this morning, um, so many people seem to think that magic items shouldn't even basically exist in the game. I'm like, you understand that that for most players that I've met over the years, not all of them, not necessarily any of you guys here, maybe you think otherwise, but like magic items are kind of like, the reason for the season, if you will. That's why they're there. That's why the players are there, is to get magic items. They want to imagine, because sure, it's cool and awesome to imagine your characters being able to do these cool things, but magic items kind of unlock a door that, sort of increases those things and options exponentially. And there's just something, you know, yeah, okay, perfect example. Your fighter, badass fighter, just the the shiznit, as the kids would say or used to say, uh, you know, baddest in the land, or at least as far as he knows. Uh, seventh level maybe, just great stats, good hit points, solid armor. Now picture that same character with a +3, just a +3 sword. Nothing, no special abilities, just a +3 sword. How much more that character just seems to like just be, you know, magnified just by that. It's only a 15% chance, right? And you can hit certain kinds of monsters, whoop de shit. Most games took out that rule because they didn't want to hand out magic items, is really why they did that. Having that rule that you can only be hit by +1, 2, or 3 magic items is fucking a powerful defense, especially today when you're never going to get a +3 sword in my game. That's too powerful. You're a fucking piece of shit. Don't come to my show if you're like that. I just like, why? Why? What are you afraid of? Are you that terrible a DM that you can't handle that? Really? I mean, you're just there to torment your players because they're coming to the table hoping to get some magic items. But if +3 is out of the question, um, please let me know so I'm never like, you know, tempted to join one of your games. I mean, that's a wizard without magic items. I mean, can you really even call yourself a wizard if you don't have some magic items? You know, you're on a budget, right, Mike? It's not like they cost you anything. Is the show? Yes, it is, Mac. It is. Yes, it is. Thank you for bringing that up. It's really good, and it's really low key, But I just watching like 2 episodes, I'm learning, uh, stuff that I want to, borrow from the show. And hats off to James L. Because when he heard what kind of game I'm trying to run, he's like, "Oh, this is the show for Shadow." He sent me the link. I'm like, "Okay, I hear you about magic items. There should absolutely be toys available to be earned that will really take care of business far beyond our petty mortal reality and inevitable impotence." Of course, that's a way of putting it. I prefer to look at it in a little bit more enjoyable, fun way. Maybe a little gonzo for some folks. Um, but I mean, what's it gonna hurt? Does that mean instead of it being one vampire the party's facing, it's now three, or a cabal? Like there's 27 vampires, and the party's now got to hunt them all down before it's too late. I mean, what sounds doable in your game? One, three, or 27? Um, 27 vampire princes or lords throughout the world. That would be a freaking great game. Oh my god! You start out at first level knowing you're a vampire hunter. Oh, I mean that's some pressure, right? I mean Solomon Kane, take that. Um, I would join that game in a heartbeat. Give me a bow, some decent stats. Yeah, I will join that game tonight. Um, or the encounters are now, you break down the door and there's 3 liches. Well, damn. Sucks to be us, but all right, up with the spells. Maybe back out, regroup. Peek in. Are they still there? Yeah, yep, they're there. They're casting spells. All right, guys. This is more. Nice, Mike. More than three vampires. They might start a rave club, right? But I mean, if you think about it, like there's a whole bunch of those games, right? Back in the day, not that long ago, those vampire app games, they were just like everywhere. You're a vampire in a world of vampires, and you're just killing vampires left and right. It's just a matter of perspective. If you're a vampire, killing lesser vampires is like killing orcs, right? But if you're a human first level, killing one vampire is like, you know, your whole life story, right? Um, I'll have to watch it. A good book series you might also like about a knightly monk theme is a grim medieval setting in another fantasy world is Devil's Night Dawning by okay, I'm writing it down as soon as I can see out of this eye. Oh, okay, where's my note thing? Is this it? No, that's for something else. Oh, here we go. Because I'm always looking for decent audiobook. Cool. Always looking for inspiration. Is this like an autobiography with the name in like Damien Black, which cannot possibly? I'm not buying for a freaking second. Is this real name? But is this guy like the edgiest of edge lords who ever edged the Lord? I mean, what the fuck? That is just like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like a little try hardy to me. But you never know. It might be good. I'll give it a listen at the very least before I spend any money on it. Um, the book series that I am reading right now, literally for just fun, uh, is just that. And I have already come across some ideas I'm going to borrow. Just, you know, because you never know um, what actual ideas are going to be, the ones that spark you to more or less an idea of your own, something that you could put into your game. It's not always like I'm just going to copy this verbatim, but change a bunch of crap so it's technically mine. No, no. Sometimes it's like this weird little things, right? These weird little nuggets, like yeah, all this other shit is really cool, but what I'm taking is this one little thing, right? That just for whatever reason sparks your uh, your fancy, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to take this one little thing, I'm going to add it to my game. No one's ever going to know where it came from, but this guy, and I'm happy. No, just a pen name. The novel is very good. Shows the minutia of a knight squire life and monk novice life, both on the road fighting evil, but in the supernatural sense. Okay, it's cool. We're And I was thinking about that because we are going to have a paladin and we're going to have an assassin. We might have a martial arts kind of monk guy. We're going to have a magic user. We got a ranger. Might have a thief and a cleric. I could see them splitting up in the party from time to time, and depending on who shows up, we might have that happening. Um, but we'll see. Um, hopefully I can do this idea justice, but we'll see. Letting them start out as nobility as show me that I need to do a little homework, thanks to the book I'm reading. Something I wanted to talk about tomorrow, but what the hell, we'll talk about it now. It was showing me that okay, you've got the king, right? Wherever the characters live, they should know that guy. Not necessarily, have talked to him personally, but everybody should know who the king is. I can't tell you how many games I'm in or I've been in. I don't know anybody. I know the party. That's it, and that's bad on me. But it's not mostly my fault if the GM doesn't, make it an issue. Yeah, I know you're all supposed to be nobodies until you're somebodies, but even the lowliest, rat catcher knows who the king and the dukes and the princes and the princesses are, and all kinds of people. I mean, think of how many celebrities you could rattle off between politics, your local government, um, movies, TV, music, sports. We know crap tons of people that we've never met, but we could probably write a paragraph or 12 about each and every one of them. And it should be kind of the same way for our player characters and our players. They should know these people. They should know the king and the queen and all his children and people on down the line. And I've been remiss in some of my games up until I got these handy dandy letter dice to randomly roll up names really quick. It's been a real big help. Um, Take care, Mac. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. Hope you feel better, King. I didn't vote for you, um, right? But you know what I'm saying, Timmy. You should know who these people are. Just out of pot. You should just know who they are. I mean, but most people don't care. Recount. Wouldn't that be freaking weird? I mean, I've done that uh, in a couple of games. I was trying to do that in the previous game, but the players like didn't want any part of that. They just literally wanted to go in dungeons and kick down doors and kill monsters and um, take their stuff and have no attachment to the world around them. Everything just needed to be just a freaking linear path to the next dungeon. It was just like, call yourselves role players, really? I mean, exactly. Things like that were a big deal, that's one of the great things the story was reminding me is that the clothes, you know, sometimes people, only owned the clothes they were wearing, which to me just sounds so gross. I mean, I don't care if you wash them every freaking day and walk around naked until they're dry. Just, oh God, I'm so glad I didn't live back then. But since it's my world, we've got indoor plumbing. Um, because I'm not going to freaking imagine that kind of grossness. Because I live in California and I know already what that smells like, what people smell like when the BO just becomes a way of life. Just no, it's my fantasy world. God dang it. I'm going to have running water and everybody's going to have clean clothes except for the people that don't, for obvious reasons. But most people will have been elevated beyond what this real world was like because it's one a fantasy world, and I don't want to get grossed out at my own table by thinking about that. Um, but knowing the people around, they should. I almost want to like start quizzing them. It's like, okay, who's so and so? Who's so and so? Hey, you don't know? All right, -1 on your next roll. You know, uh, and bonuses for when they succeed, just to kind of get them into the habit of remembering these people, taking some notes. Because I mean, if you think about it, the note taking in the hobby is severely lacking. I've known 90% of the people at my table and players elsewhere don't take any, and I'm kind of guilty of it too sometimes. Uh, I kind of don't take notes until I get to a certain point because if I die after taking all these notes, um, I'm like, yeah, I got to just start all over, and which is fine. But the notes I have, you know, who doesn't have indoor plumbing? Pig faced orcs. That's who. Right, right, and that's see, that's that's something I want to be able to use in the descriptions of said dungeons, which was interesting. There was a scene in this last book of battle, and he dropped the line he could the person whose narrative it was that they were in a tunnel and they could smell the blood and feces from the dead and dying because yeah that we all know and when something dies it tends to crap itself um, and we never highlight that or discuss it. We just kind of gloss over it, as do most fantasy novels, science fiction, everything. I mean, I can't think of a movie where anybody mentions, oh, dude, the guy I just killed, he just crapped himself. You never hear that. But you'd hear that, or you'd smell it, or you'd see that in the real world in any kind of, real violence. Trust me. It's disgusting, it's gross, and um, it really, really uh, puts perspective to things when you see somebody, no longer alive, but their body does that one last thing. Um, it's a whole new level of I don't want to be here, right? Not that I'm going to do that in my games, but I am going to do some other, gritty things and try to make it, so that the PCs really want to uh, be part of the mission. They want to be part of the story and you know invest themselves in it because you know we all know all too well in the real world when cops and law enforcement investigators don't give two shits because they're overwhelmed. What a shitty job they do. But when they've only got one job, one case, they do a much better job. Trust me. When they're single-minded, focused on the one problem, it's way better than, it's they've got a stack of cases on their desk, and they're going to get a stack more tomorrow, and they're never going to be enough. That's the problem with a lot of crime, in the modern world is that there's too much of it, clearly, and there's not enough people to handle it. Be on the job, take care of the job, um, solve the crime, lock the guys up, and throw away the fucking key. Right? But this particular campaign, they'll be tasked with what one directive, at least for the beginning, and hopefully they'll get into it, enjoy it, and make the best of it. You guys think having a paladin and an assassin in the same party is too much? You think it's like you can't do that? Real quick out there, there's like five of you. What do you think? Type in. You think it's too much? Too little? It's fine? Maybe? Because I have found several ways to make it work. I'll run those past you guys later. Because while I've never played Assassin's Creed, the imagery I've seen from it in the Middle Age periods, where you've got this guy who works for, I'm assuming some sort of king or church or something, and they've been tasked with doing the dirty work for the guys who can't do the dirty work. Maybe I should try those games out. But see, I've always had a pretty harsh uh, stance on certain things. If I really like something, like initially, like the look of it, all I've seen is a couple of commercials here and there over the years. Like that looks awesome. I'm not going to do it. I mean, or I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to like use my own imagination and not take too much from it. Like clearly, the assassin's not going to be running around dressed all in white with a big red freaking cross on him and shit. You know, the paladin, that's a different story, but um, definitely not going to do that. I even kind of have that character. Where is he? Oh, right here. Whoop! Oh, son of a. Okay, you guys are clearly not like not paying attention. I guess I've got this mini. It's kind of like that guy, right? You know, he's there's like a skeleton here that he's dealing with, climbing up, and then there's another one over here climbing up behind him. But he's clearly, got some religious stuff going on, and the flaming holy sword or something. But he's all cloaked and hooded and armored and stealthy at the same time. Really freaking love this miniature. Hey,
A no from me.
that's my no button.
No. Forget it. No way. Absolutely not. It's a no from me.
I guess that's all it says, and I guess that's my answers from you guys. You don't like the idea of an assassin and a paladin in the same party. Okay. All right. Well, it's going to happen anyways, even if I have to run the paladin as an NP fucking C. But I really hope I can get one in the party, um, and an assassin. Um, hold on, right? I mean, they're both lawful. They just see different. They see things differently. You want to solve it this way. I'm going to solve it the other way. And you got to have some tension in the party, right? A little. It's not always a bad thing. I think it's going to be fun. But I'm also like I'm not going to be doing like again. There's probably not going to be any orcs, kobolds, or goblins. Like maybe not even at all. Is that weird? Um, I may have hobgoblins, and I don't really like gnolls either. For whatever reason, they just seem kind of, I don't know. There's something about them that just don't they don't really do anything for me. When it comes to having them as large groups of monsters to be wary of. Lizardmen all day long. I'll have them all day long. Hobgoblins, absolutely. Troglodytes, sure. Bugbears, oh yeah. Bugbears are freaking those. Even as a youngster, there was something about them. The picture in the monster manual, the heritage miniatures. I'm like, I think my first character was killed by bugbears as well. I don't remember. Um, but for me, they've always had sort of a place in my world. But orcs and goblins and kobolds are just they're almost like to the point where hey, what's up, Mike? They're just so very generic. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, totally.
Because I've redone some of my computer stuff, so plugged in, unplugged. You know how that always goes.
Hmm.
Um, do you on your D&D game? Are you gonna have like a state religion?
Yes.
Okay, so could you have the assassin just be religious or
Um,
lean into that? Because then,
kind of. Yeah. I mean, there's like a there is a pantheon, but there's like a branch or what have you that it's kind of more in line with the king and the world, not the world but the kingdom, to where this is the most conducive and beneficial for everybody, so that's the way they're going. And then there's like a death cult or something that's doing crap in the kingdom. King wants that problem solved, and of course it's going to be leads all over the place. Um, to different different possible who's the bad guy at the top, what's really going on. I'm not really like solving that issue because depending on what they do, it
Yeah.
might end up I don't know who it is yet, so that it's not like a railroad. It's like, well, you guys went over here and you found this guy, and he's talking to this guy, so you keep going like up the food chain, the higher and higher echelons within the organization of bad guys. But you may be going in one direction, and the main bad guy could be over here, or maybe it'll lead to the main bad guy, or maybe the main bad guy is Satan. I don't know. Right?
Yeah. And they're also going to be some type of royalty or have some kind of connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that there'd be a reason why the king would pick them, because he's witnessed them growing up and go, you look like a fine young man I can trust, and if I have you come in and pledge your allegiance to this thing, you and me, we can talk, and you guys can go do the things, and you'll have my complete support, as it were, so they don't have to like feel like they're just doing it all on their own, and they can give up at any time. They could, but hopefully it'll be, it'll bring everything together and make it more like a
Yeah.
spy.
Have you done up like the whatever noble houses you're going to have, or are you going to have that more player?
That's the thing is, thanks to the book I'm reading, I realized how woefully behind I am on those things. Okay, you got a king, but okay, and his wife. Okay, does he got kids? Well, they're princes and
Right.
princesses. Does he have brothers and sisters that are dukes or whatever throughout
Dukes,
the
lords,
land?
counts, viscounts, marquis, all
The
the
whole bit. I was like, oh my gosh, reading that book. I'm like, oh my god, this is like, I'm getting great ideas for all these characters, and of course, any one of them could be like a secret cult member. I mean, you're doing espionage. How many espionage stories have you seen where someone like at the number 2 or 3, or maybe even the top guy is the bad guy? You know what I mean? Right? And it could lead right back to your highness. It's your grand vizier. He's behind it all. You
what?
know,
It's never the advisor or the butler.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's so many great tropes that
Meal. Yeah.
and it's funny too because like when I started saying espionage game, that scared the shit out of everybody away. And I was looking into how many games are really actually exactly what I'm describing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
In reality, maybe not so much. Getting your marching orders from the king directly, which no one ever does because that's too much power. If you got that one character who rolled high in his soch, well, he's a cavalier, and you know he's got no connections to anybody because that's too much of a gimme at first level. And I'm like, I had a character roll double odd on Soch once, okay, and in the kingdom, it wasn't even a kingdom; it was an empire that they were playing in. I'm like, well, you know what? You're the son of the emperor. I got no. You've been with my group long enough. You're the son of the emperor. And one day, like 8 years later, he ascended that throne. He earned it, and he had a whole freaking nation on my map, and it was a lot of fun. Um, Instead of being the muck raker, now the rat catcher. Now you're the bucket emptier. Why not play with the top, upper echelons? We always read about these characters. If you were going to do a like a King Arthur game, you're no one's volunteering to be the piss boy or the
Right. Like,
lowest.
like yeah, if you're playing Pendragon, you're playing knights. You're not playing.
Right.
I'm a
So
table
why not?
hand.
So I still have a lot of work to do, but um, I think it'll be fun. I
It
think it'll be
sounds
fun.
it sounds interesting from like months ago when you first kind of pitched it.
If you and Jen are interested,
When, she has a thing to do on Wednesday nights after work.
But like I said, we might switch it to Friday if it means I can get more players because Wednesdays is, weeknights are rough. I know, and the only reason I was not doing Fridays was because some friends of mine are already running a game, and I didn't want to, and I bowed out of that one, and I'm like I didn't want to like make them think I'm taking their players away because some of them might have jumped ship and said, "Hey, it's Friday. I'd rather play with Chato than," and I didn't want that, but
Yeah.
they seem to have their group set, and I'm like, cool, cool. I'm not stepping on any toes if I jump to Friday as well. Um, so we'll see.
Thursday was an okay night for me to play a while back, but Wednesdays might even work if that's your day. Because
I'll put it forth to the group. Like I said, so far the only for sures are the ranger and the magic user. That leaves the five other things open. Or if you come up with something else that like someone said, why no fighters? Well, because we got a ranger and a paladin. Fighters kind of like you know you kind of feel like the fifth wheel.
are you using or messing with like proficiency skills, non-weapon proficiencies,
Everything out of AD&D. Everything I can. You'll
everything?
get you'll get your secondaries. You'll get your non-weapon, your weapon proficiencies. We'll even roll for psionics, but you won't know when you're rolling for psionics. Um, so uh, just because if like I found recently that there's a lot of critters in the books that have psionics, and if you don't have somebody in the party that can like handle that, and you bump into a group of mind flayers, that literally can end the game. Even like two mind flayers could just freaking psychic blast the whole party, and they're all feeble minded. Next thing you know, I'm like, they would just kill you. Sorry, they ate your brains, and you know, and. But if you got a guy in the group who's got psionics, you know, maybe. But at the same time, I'm not like uh, anticipating anything like that until much later. Mind flayers aren't like a thing I'm going to throw at a first level group, and they're probably not behind the death cult. They probably have completely different aspirations. I really want it to be like like the it is like medieval freaking feel to some sort of secret cult, especially when you read about like the black popes and things like that were hiding in plain sight, doing all kinds of their stupid witchcrafty shit, behind the scenes, you know is intriguing, and the idea that it was Ray Cheetah. I don't know if you know him. He's in my chat, occasionally in
What's the
the
name?
Ray Cheetah.
I recognize. Yeah.
He's been mostly just a commenter, but when I was talking about the top secret SI administrator's guide and how good a DM advice book it was, it really had like very little to do with like espionage in the book. It was more about how to just run a good game and be a good GM, and you know not do any of the kind of big mistakes we did. And he's like, "You ever thought of running a D&D game like that?" I'm like, well, now that you mention it, let's see if we can, you know, uh, the king is the chief. He's giving you the missions. Uh, you've got the wizard, the advisor, who's like your Q, making up little gadgets. It's like, oh, you need to get into this special place. Well, here's a special key or magic item so you can get
Yeah.
through the door. Little things like that, so that it's got that sort of get smart James Bond kind of feel to it, and a little bit of the Avengers where they or the Mission Impossible team where they know they got to come up with uh, the scheme to get in or to get out or to rescue or whatever the goal is. They get together and pool their abilities and come up with some crazy scheme to rescue the princess or to break into the underground vault or whatever. Um, Just,
Hey, did you ever get a chance? The show I recommended, that Nero the Assassin.
nope.
All right, if you can track it down, I think you'd enjoy it. He is an assassin for the king.
That's kind of along the lines. Uh,
He's not a good. Well, it's the guy that eventually, you know, does the right thing, kind of thing. That
mhm,
kind of.
mhm.
But
Well,
he's
I mean,
a
if you look at, I was trying to explain to one of the guys. Remember in Firefly, not Firefly, but Serenity,
yeah,
the bad guy, the black guy who ends up
yeah.
being the bad guy. He knows he's a bad guy, but he knows what he's doing is for the
Serve,
betterment of society.
yeah, serve society overall, but he
And he
can't do
knows
it well.
when his job is complete, he will need to be executed,
Yeah,
or
because
killed or
yeah,
die
he
or
can't be a
whatever.
part of that society that he helped enforce.
Hmm. And a lot of our patriots, have had jobs of trying to take out Castro. You know what I mean? And that didn't make them bad guys. That
No, it's like,
not in the traditional sense.
well, it's kind of like a sniper. Is that an assassin? Kind of.
Yes.
Kind of. I mean, depending
Hmm.
if you're just saying assassins only do it for fanaticism or money, but patriotism could be that way too. And
They're also getting a paycheck.
some people need gone.
Yeah. And
To your to
sometimes the
your earlier
people that
comments
realize
about what
that,
to do with criminals, some people need gone.
sometimes, especially like in the old days, they
Yeah,
probably have to like word it, say, my faith forbids me to do anything about it, but tarnation, that guy's a pain in our rear end. If only the
well,
gods would, see fit to strike him down. But forgive me for even thinking such a thing next to the guy with the crossbow, right?
it how much of the religion that you're having mix in with it.
Well, there's going to be a paladin and a
Well, I was going
and
to
a
say because you're having a evil cult.
uh-huh.
So are they opposing? I'm just throwing questions out. Are they opposing what's going on in the kingdom because they don't like the religion, whether it's monotheistic or a pantheon? Is that what the cult's kind of maybe?
It's
Or am I
really
getting too deep in the
literally,
weeds?
it's literally like a life and death thing. They're a death cult. The particular religion, promotes life and harmony and happiness and all things good in the world. To it, the even the dwarves and the elves, not to like take any other than the normal spin. The humans are on the rise, and the dwarves and the elves around realize it and realize that humanity is the best hope for the future. So even the dwarf, like one guy's thinking about running a dwarven, locksmith, and I'm like, well, you work for the king, and he's a human king, and that while you may actually be spying, for the dwarves, that this king is a good person and he's the best hope to thwart the forces of evil that might be sneaking and creeping into the land that would even fester in the dwarven kingdom or the elven kingdom, and the best defense against those things is the humans. And it's really it does make sense. I always rail against it, but it does make sense that humanity, being this larger species than the dwarves and the humans. I
Hmm.
mean, the dwarves, the elves, the hobbits, the gnomes. Humans are giants, you know, and they reproduce really quick in comparison, and they're big and they're strong and they're smart and they're wise and they're funny, and sometimes they're assholes, but when they're good, they're a power to be admired by the other races, the longer lived races, but those longer lived races always reproduce slowly, and if the evil is like orcs or goblins or some stuff like that reproduce even faster, what are you going to do? Eventually you're going to run out of elves and dwarves and gnomes to fight them. But you got these humans coming up,
Yeah.
advise them,
Well,
teach
it,
them.
it could be like the elves know that they're going to leave the world, fade, go back to fairy, die, to where they're seeing that the humans are worshiping or on a good moral path, so they can hand off the world.
Mhm. Mhm. Which plays into every trope that there's been, except like ElfQuest. When it comes to elves or Elric, and which can't help it. I do kind of like me some Elric, and I do picture the Melbanans as elves if you take them to their ultimate conclusion. If you give them power and they, before they create Slaanesh, they're siring Elric and his kin.
They're not Elric. No, they're not exactly elves. Wink.
Well, the way I
Yeah.
justify it is, they're all multi-classed. Okay, they
Mhm.
could wear full plate armor and cast any spell. Right? They were long lived and super powerful magically, and also very lazy, and let their slaves do most of the work, and all things that you would picture uh, elves doing if they went the wrong way. Or if
In
you just
kind
if, you know
of late Empire type of a thing where
mhm.
you know
And like, even if you look at like not just Games Workshop but any other IP that used dark elves, they're pretty much a bunch of Elrics running around. It's like they're all Elric. You know what I mean? Or his cousins and stuff. They're just wicked, evil, nasty, depraved, degenerate. You know, so and so's. But I'm also doing this, in a very like low key early ages of the world. A lot of unexplored areas. A lot of it's all very new. It's not like even the elves aren't ancient. Um,
so there won't
yeah.
be like the D&D trope where it's almost post-apocalypse where there's fallen empires and you go dig through their ruins to
There
get
is one. There was a previous empire. It fell, and in the ashes, like 900 years later, you have what you have, and it didn't spread very far. Like it was still on the same main continent, and there are other places in the world, but the likelihood that they're going to need to get on a boat, go to another continent to track it down, just like we don't need that. We can stick to the main continent. Off over there might be this. There's jungles over there. But they don't need that. It just I'm trying to keep it.
so well so was this old empire something to be like looked at as a good thing, a glorious thing, like either the Knights of the Round Table or how you know the Roman Republic was held up, or was it
It was
like
very
a pinnacle
successful.
civilization type thing, or
It was big and successful, and ultimately fell because of a civil war between two brothers who both wanted to be king or whatever, or emperor, and their 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 magics kind of like laid waste to the whole area, and the survivors had to like flee the immediate area and pretty much start from what was left outside of it. Like there's this big sort of blast area uh, that is just like the dead zone of where the main you know capital used to be, and they the people who the provinces and the minor little kingdoms or whatever that survived grew up to be the next.
and you said it's just shy of 1,000 years ago that empire fell.
Yeah.
So then, do like current kingdoms or current kings claim to be like I'm a descendant or of my blood is ancient and comes from the land of
Probably at least one.
kind of claim that, or they can for the glory of or kind of like the idea of Atlantis, or like this is a something to be upheld or to
The
be
Second
claimed.
Empire, kind of, yeah, probably some of that. And as time went on, and they spread,
Or
they
will they
had
use
made.
that old empire as falling like it was judged or fell
Mhm,
short of morality? Is that why it well the two brothers
mhm.
that could
and,
be a
and
good
and 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 neither of them was all that good. You know, they're both willing to plunge the empire into freaking civil war to get what they wanted. If one was better than the other, it all depends on whose history you read, and there's really not like uh, probably a lot of that. I call it the necropolis. It's basically just a freaking giant freaking graveyard. From and there may be a reason to go in there. Just if we need like a mega dungeon.
Does the current religion, is it a tie over from then, or is it something that's come about, or like
uh,
they were pagan and then now you have a monotheistic thing, or you have a new
uh,
group, or
no, it's probably uh, it's not a monotheistic thing. There's definitely a pantheon, but it's like the pantheon of alignments. You've got the lawful good God, you've got the chaotic good God, the neutral good God, the chaotic evil God, and they probably uh, the two brothers probably were like not really religious guys. Their priests were probably advising them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but they're like, no. My dad was emperor. One of us gets to be freaking emperor now. He's gone. Um, we're not stopping until we figure that out. You know, and the religions just couldn't
yeah.
stop them, and they maybe one of them resorted to
Well, like I said,
consorting with
I'm asking
demons.
these questions. I'm probably getting in the weeds here, but it's like, do those two brothers show up as examples in the modern thing, like Cain and Cain turning against each other, like how we would have legends and
Oh,
things, and like so
yeah,
modern.
perfect example. People would probably occasionally mention them, or don't be like so and so, or don't like two little brothers are fighting, they may use that as an example to don't do that, you'll end up like them. Yeah, right. Um, as well as uh, the way we use it now, like the way you just used it now. Everybody knows that reference,
Mhm.
and with only 900 years or whatever, in between the two situations, it's probably even more well known. Anytime brothers are
Well, it
fighting.
could also be a big social thing to ever do something against a family member. Then
Hmm.
bigger, but then royalty and whatnot.
To the point where they may even like um,
Excuse me.
try to make sure that there's like literally like enough age difference between siblings, so that it can't happen. Like where you've had your first child, well, you can't have another one for 5 years.
Or
Literally
maybe
because
sayings like "I stand with my brother, not against him," or things like
Mhm.
that. That could.
just to make sure that kind of thing. It's
When
the wound's still fresh. It's 900 years. We you
yeah,
know we'll still be talking about the Civil War for another 500 years. Or you know things like that.
yeah,
The Revolution. Some for some folks those things aren't really that long ago.
yeah. Well, I'm just digging into your background, or I don't know if you
I,
thought of
I
anything.
appreciate the questions because doing it one sided. When you're creating a world, it really does help to have people ask questions and bounce ideas off.
Oh,
Otherwise, you can miss like glaring holes and then shit. Oh crap! I got to improvise like this big huge thing in the middle of a session, and over preparing, can lead to the the massive info dumps that nobody wants.
right. Just like the the background a player comes up with. When a DM hands you this background, it's like, and then you don't really read it.
hmm
You're like,
hmm
"Where's the dungeon? Let's go."
hmm hmm and that's going to be one of the things with this. It's like they're going to have to find them. I'm not going to just like go, here they are. They're going to have to like look for the clues to figure out where these guys would
Right. 'Cause I
most
was
likely
thinking,
be.
the same thing is like that trope of, DMs who just want to run their story being a failed novelist. Well, so is I've played with people who do the background book. It's like I'm not reading all that, and then it's like you can't really deviate. No matter how much sandbox, even if they say it's a sandbox, and it's kind of like, did you read this about the worms and the no? I,
Yeah.
I didn't have time to read your 100-page document where you.
Yeah, right, right. I haven't even done
But
any of
but to
that.
have a good structure, and then when somebody goes, hey, would this be within the tenets of like this god or one of the god's saints or
Mhm.
something like if it's lawful or something, then like, but saint whatever is the thing of vengeance, and so that's the patron of the assassin, or
Mhm.
so then it can be looked like we only take lives when it's just, or under this morality.
Or like Batman if he killed, you know, if he or the Punisher, some of these vigilantes that would if they existed in our world today, certain people wouldn't be around anymore. You know, as soon as word got out that so and so was doing this thing or that thing, someone would be like, okay, I'm going to find that person and I'm going to end them because it's clearly obvious that they're mobbed up or they're lawyered up or they've got connections or dirt on people and they're never going to get convicted for these things.
Well, you see,
Um,
my comic book list is like includes the Punisher and Judge Dredd. Sort of those.
mhm,
I
mhm.
enjoy those kind of stories. So there was no
Me too.
Batman.
I the funny thing is, before my mom passed away, she was reading Punisher too. I was working at this comic book store, um, and mind you, this was like 10 years before she passed away. But I was working in this comic book store, and every comic book I bought, she read. And I was on a monthly basis. I was buying about a stack this big every week. About 20 books, and she read them all, every last one of them. And the Punisher was one of her favorites. We owned a gun store, so it's kind of she. But there would be guys like that um, that do that. But it's weird, because the assassin in like the player's handbook um, was only ever, like the mafioso kind of guy. You know what I mean? It was never, and then it's like, I get it, you know, but what about all these other cases and instances where, they're not doing it for the paycheck? It's like, where did you even get that idea, that it was just about the money when there's so many other reasons that people would be that guy?
Yeah, you
And even,
could be the assassin. I mean, there's a lot of tropes with like a religious assassin or somebody that works for the church that takes a similar vow of like poverty, like a paladin would.
Mhm,
They just don't have a
mhm.
lot of attachments or possessions, therefore there's nothing to extort them.
or interfere with them doing the, heeding the call, even if that call is,
I mean,
uh, you know,
James Bond is technically an assassin.
mhm. And which is funny because in Top Secret, there are only three kinds of spies: intelligence gatherers, thieves, and assassins. That's it. Okay, well, if you're the assassin kind, your jobs are going to be pretty, cut and dry. You just do the job and, you know, literally turn that off. I mean, think about, in the real world, real spies, there are guys out there, that's their job. And, when they clock out, they go home and kiss their wife, hug their kids, mow the lawn on Saturdays, but 9 to 5, they're working on this other thing.
Yeah,
Don't ask. You don't want to know.
I haven't looked at my I have the old box set of Top Secret, but I haven't flipped through that in a long time. But
The
that,
SI is the better version. It's so much better. The original was just like it's like the Boot Hill kind of game, you know. It's barely a game, you know. It's missing, you know, so much, um, you know, in the way of explanations and it's amazing how many modules and supplements they made between the two editions.
that other version came out in the '80s too, right?
Yeah,
Because I think that's
the,
the one I played. I have this one given to me, but I barely. We didn't really play it. We played a. It had to come out in the late '80s or mid '80s. I don't know. That's the one we played. And then the person also loved the 007 role play, so it was kind of hybridized.
oh yeah, I have both. I do not like the 007 game at all. Um,
Well, I think it was just stealing ideas. Like,
yeah, it really is kind of like a one-player game. 007, you know, with Top Secret. I mean, if you had one of each of the
yeah, we
three,
were like a Mission Impossible type team.
that's the way it should be. I mean, you got each player, you know, especially back in the day, you know, because like the tech guy would be the computer guy, you know, in the real world and in the game. You know, it was just like, well, I know this stuff, so I should play this guy, and you know, that guy's the jock, so he's like, you know, the assassin or the fighter or whatever. And your other guy is, you know, whatever. But you know, it just made sense back then. But it's just you couldn't run a top secret game today if you paid players to join. Just
Mm.
yeah, we're going to set the game in the year 2020. Nope, I'm out. Right?
What
Nobody
was
wants to
it?
do it.
I was just looking at the text. The guy said he had him on his show. That's cool. Did you ever? Well, you didn't because it was at the D20 stuff that came out in the early Spycraft.
Yeah,
I thought that was a good one, but I ended up trading that to somebody who was wanted it more than me.
because it's so hard to get people to you know. I've also played Recon and some other games that are you know modern and realistic and gritty and all that. Um, it's just most people just even superheroes are hard to sell, you know. And I've come to the conclusion it's mostly about the magic items. It really is. That's like the you know people won't admit it or they'll lie, but the other games don't give you magic items. You know what I mean? They offer all the same stuff. You know what I mean? But they don't offer
Yeah.
the ability to kick indoors, kill monsters, and take their stuff. It's literally that. It's like because
The
everything.
the the magic item quandary I think is that some DMs just don't want the game to get out of this little control box, and I mean you just I've been there a little bit, because I wanted to play a little Magic World, so that made sense. But then when you get into it, the magic items, I think that's why modern D&D characters need all these goofy things and talents and feats and special wacky abilities, is because they downplayed the magic items. But the
Mhm.
magic items, I think that's part of building your character,
Yeah,
and you kind of
it's
assemble it. And
like you know you look at any guy who works with his hands, construction, mechanics, electricians. They got a crap ton of tools in their vehicle when they go to the job, and they need each and every one for very specific things. And in a like a traveler game, if you had this list of like 50 pieces of equipment, you know, and each and every one of them does some crazy, you know, high tech thing that's better than the modern day. A lot of GMs would be like, okay, well, it's kind of heavy. You might want to get a robot to carry that crap around for you.
I was just
Not like,
the
what do you mean you got like a complete set of 32 different sonic screwdrivers, a laser torch, you know, a molecular destabilizer, all these, you know, those are magic items,
yeah.
you know? They do shit that we can't do now. I don't care how you explain it, Lucy, but it's a magic item. but it's sci-fi, so it's no big deal. You just go down to the corner store and give me, another AAA freaking sonic screwdriver and some extra batteries, will you? Sure thing, no problem.
Well,
That'll
it's kind
be
of like
82
I was gonna
credits.
say like the guy thing. It's like when you have your little jars of nuts and bolts that you saved, or the one
Mhm.
that's a good board. I'm gonna keep that. And then many years later, or my daughter who comes and asks me, "Do you have a that will cut this or do?" Yes. How would
And 100 years ago, those would be magic items, right? How it's powered or whatever, but magic, it defies. Well, yeah, so does technology. Defies all
yeah
the laws that we understand, dilithium crystals or whatever. But it's all about that. Um, the way I think it's partially the way they're acquired with no strings attached. You kill them, you take it, right? And the perceived, superpowers they grant when you get them. Yeah, exactly. That's why everybody wants to be a Jedi in Star Wars. Nobody wants to just run the freaking Han Solo guy, except for guys like this guy. I'll do it, but I mean, if you give me a chance to be a freaking Jedi or a Sith, I am not passing that up. You know,
yeah. I played a gunslinger. It was a bounty hunter template, but I was more of a gunslinger when we played that back in the day for years. I liked the character, but I didn't care for. I didn't want to play a Jedi because like, everybody wants that. That
yeah,
or
it's
a stupid Wookiee.
it's like uh, for me, it was potentially a one-time opportunity. I didn't play
Yeah.
Star Wars prior to doing the show with George. We all wanted to be bad guys. You want to be a Sith? Fuck yes, thank you. Yes, I will do that. I will do it and enjoy the hell out of it. And if we run another game, yeah, I'd be a bounty hunter just like that, no problem. I've done the Jedi. It's like being Q. I've been the lamppost. I've been the park bench. You know, I've been it all. I've played them all, but I hadn't played the Jedi. So yeah, and I'll do that. But in order to say you've done it all, you got to be a Jedi at least once. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of a no brainer.
Which
But
Star Wars did you play? The D6?
yeah,
See the real game. All right.
yeah, the real game. and
I've played
I've
all the
had
others. I tried to
I
learn.
literally had the Star Wars game in my collection since the early '90s, and I didn't play it till 2025. So because like none of my players, they all loved the movies, but they didn't want to play in them because they understood that you know that's the story. You're not going to beat it. Until Knights of the Old Republic came out, and then it was like, oh wait a minute, that's an idea. We can go back so far that none of that crap's happened, and anything can happen. Um, Luke's a whiny
Yeah.
brat. Mark Hamill. That's not bad
Oh,
news. You're not
he
wrong,
is.
but I would be lying if I didn't say I looked up to the Luke character for a time as a 10-year-old boy when that movie came out. I was 10. Okay, I didn't know any better. I had never seen anything like that. Never heard of. I had read some comic books, of course, Spider-Man and things like that. It wasn't until after Star Wars that same year that I started reading John Carter, the comic books, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, you can make all kinds of these other kinds of stories, and
Yeah.
it started opening up freaking you know doorways of the mind, man. That just so of course wanted to be Luke, and then the Christmas we got the orange flashlight lightsabers. Did you ever have those? Remember those?
Or just
Or-
sticks.
It was an orange
Yeah.
flashlight
Yeah.
with the clear white tube, and it came with the four different colored lenses. And oh man, me and my little brother had so much fun with that. In the garage. I was four, but I liked Han better. It just um, there was just something about as a kid. Yes, But at 10, I didn't care about the girl thing. 12, that's a different story. But at 10, especially when Empire came out, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. I can still remember, and I still have my copy of the paperback book, Empire Strikes Back, when I read it as a 12-year-old boy. Before the paperback was at the grocery store, I begged my mom, "Can I please, 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 can I have it?" She's like, "You want a book?" I'm like, "Yeah, can I have it?" Yeah, she bought it for me. I ran home, freaking read that, got to Luke, I'm your father, and just freaking threw the book across the room. I was so freaking just traumatized. Like, no.
Oh, so the book spoiled it.
But because I went to the theater, yeah, like the book better be wrong. The book better be wrong. My dad says, "Of course he's his father. We saw it coming a mile away. That's how stories are written. There's only like 12 characters in the story. Somebody's got to be his dad. Do you think it was Obi-Wan? No. He would have just said, hey, kid, I'm your dad. No. He's like, what? What do you mean? You know, uh, hand solo all day, hand shot first. A hand was way cooler and more like most of us because none of us have magical powers. Um, but
Mhm.
you know having magical powers. I mean, I grew up reading Spider Man and Doctor Strange and things like that. So having and being able to do things beyond just being a really good shot and having a good sense of humor. Like, anybody could do that. Everybody should do that. Like, Luke was close to getting the girl, then their roles were changed. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And in a way, had they not actually been brother and sister, and they did get together, that would have been a completely different, so different a story as to make Han Solo literally like a nobody. It would turn Han Solo into a Chewbacca esque character in the way that he's just a sidekick.
Yeah.
As opposed to you know not quite the leading man, but they gave you two choices. You had your two choices for leading man, depending on how you looked at things, and for youngsters, it makes perfect sense that they would gravitate toward the obvious hero in white versus the Clint Eastwood kind of anti-hero in black with the heart of gold. you know One's for the immature, unknowing, ignorant little ones, and the other one is for your dads having to watch the movie with the kid, knowing the way the world really works, right? Han Solo was literally written for our dads who grew up with Clint Eastwood movies. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep. He
uh,
was the cowboy, the
kid,
gunslinger.
right? This whiny little kid with the power. Who fucking cares? He's gonna hit 35. He's gonna have a mortgage, and Han Solo makes more sense, man. He's just freaking hitting the open road. Said screw it. He's got his best friend, you know, doing a couple of jobs here and there to make ends meet, but he's his own man. More of a hero to our old mans. And as we grew up, us as well. It's really kind of insightful and you know Lucas knew what the hell he was doing, man. He was truly blessed by a very, very loving muse for those 10 years or so that he gave us those movies. And then I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't. I mean,
Believing your own hype. I think that's what does it. It's the hubris of just I made this thing, but by basically borrowing from other sci-fi and mythology, and
mhm.
then I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, I think the prequels had good ideas. They just were executed terribly. I mean, my kids enjoyed them, but they were kids. They didn't know no better.
Those are two good heroes, Chris. Zorro, I used to watch the black and whites. For me, it was more, honestly, Robin Hood and John Carter. Robin Hood early on. The very first cartoon or movie I ever saw in the theater was the Disney Robin Hood with the fox. But I also grew up watching Errol Flynn and Eventually, I watched a little Rocket Robin Hood, much to my utter shame. If you've never seen or heard of Rocket Robin Hood, forget I said anything. Don't look it up.
Okay.
Don't look it up. Don't.
Was there a John Carter show?
There was a John Carter movie, but it was not John Carter. It was more like Commando Cody on Mars. It's just not the same. Even Flash Gordon was closer to Flash Gordon, the old serials, and
Did you
but yeah,
like
I
the more recent John Carter film?
fucking loved it. I thought it was perfect. I know it wasn't perfect accurate to the
They
books.
mixed the little things, yeah.
They had to. I mean, there's just certain things they couldn't do. I thought the girl who played Deja Thoris was nothing to write home about. She didn't do. She wasn't the incomparable. I mean, nobody talks about her. You know what I mean? People talk more about Scarlett Johansson than her, and I think both women are about in the same category for me.
Yeah.
They just not. They're not like Deja Thoris on a scale of 1 to 10 has to be a 12, not even an 11. Which we can all conceive of. She has to be beyond that, and like Miss America, like 2 years running, which has never happened. Kind of beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just literally by the book, the most beautiful woman on two worlds. Well, we can't even agree on one world, but if we
Yeah.
could, that criteria would have
That,
to include Miss winning like Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss America, like 2 years running, and then you'd have to hire her at that point in her life, and hope she wouldn't hit the wall before you got to movie number 10.
yeah, that movie Jen and I went to, just something to do. And I was like, well, I didn't think it would be good, but we were like hyped that there was gonna maybe be a sequel. And then
Fear
they
not, the animated movie or series is in the works, and they showed a preview of it at Wizard World or San Diego Con last year. Uh, your favorite superhero is Kikuman. He can save any rice dish. Yes, I remember looking up Rocket Robin Hood. It was not only was it cheap, it was cheesy and very like 1960s hippie dippy kind of. It was just it was. I couldn't believe that because I was in uh, summer school between like first and second grade or kindergarten and first grade. The only time I ever had to do summer school because I wasn't doing so well in school. Um, and I was bummed because I couldn't watch it because it came on like right as I had to go to school. And I remember seeing like a couple of episodes, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." And then I watched it as a 58-year-old man, and I'm like, now I understand why I had to go to summer school. I was retarded. I was like 6 or 7. So there wasn't like a lot of you know stuff that appealed to me. Bugs Bunny and that stuff. Sure, we all watch that, but you know, I don't know a lot of people that's like their jam. Like they're fucking Warner Brothers, man. You know what I mean?
must
Do
be
you,
somebody's people collect the little
right, but or even I don't
things.
know too many
But yeah,
Disney people either. But I understand Disney at least. I've been to it's Magic Mountain, I think, that does all the Warner Brothers cartoons as their sort of tie in with their amusement park, and going around, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of sad. Nobody cares anymore. Sure, you get Batman and rides like Superman and like if I come to the park and there's a guy walking around in a Superman suit, I am leaving. You know what I mean? I am just fucking gone.
you know,
Um,
especially if he doesn't work there.
well, if he works there, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Even a Wonder Woman, I'd be like, yeah, sorry, honey, you're just lucky. That's it. And you're not even that lucky because you're working here. Get a better agent. Maybe you get a real job, in Hollywood. But fortunately, they don't do that. They just got guys walking around in Bugs Bunny suit, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig, and nobody knows who the fuck they are anymore. You know,
Yeah.
right, dude? I was just explaining to my son literally yesterday how Star Blazers and Spider Man were on UHF, and we had to run home or we missed that intro. And me and my friends, they all ran to my house, turned on UHF channel 52, which was 2 blocks from my house, and it still came in crappy. I kid you not, the station is still there today. It's a different station, I think, but it was a UHF station, uh, and it would have Star Blazers and then Spider Man, and then it'd be time for dinner. And but those were great, you know. I just bought the Star Blazers live action movie, like 2 hours, all Japanese actors and subtitles. I think it was pretty damn good. I was like, yeah, it's different, but you know what? I'm glad I paid the like $6 to get it, and
Didn't
it's in
even
my
know that
collection.
existed.
Yeah, it's worth it. You know, you can get it on DVD for like 5-10 bucks. It's a good watch. You know,
That ain't bad.
it's very. There's a whole lot of things that are different, but it's and there's other versions out there, and I'll get them as well. Uh, we had a local TV station that showed old Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers serials. I actually loved them, even though, and like I was mentioning, Commando Cody. All three of those were high on my list of things I watched as a kid, along with Abbott and Costello, Bowery Boys, and any other black and white monster movie I could get a hold of. I was gonna watch it on Saturday or Sunday if I wasn't out playing with the friends, which is weird because like most weekends, my neighborhood friends were doing stuff with their family, but because my parents, they didn't really we didn't really go places like that, or go to the park or go to the beach or shit like that. Um, we did yard work and watch TV, and Saturdays and Sundays, lots and lots of old monster movies and whatever was on, Star Trek was a biggie. It was Star Trek was on every Saturday and Sunday. God, it must have been at least 10 years every Saturday and Sunday. I must have seen every Star Trek at least 10 times each, at least. But the funny thing is the one with the damn Horta was always on.
No kill eye.
My dad would call it 9 times out of 10. And he would be like, watching Star Trek again, huh? Is it is it the damn giant hamburger patty again? Because the Horta, we just thought it looked like a big hamburger patty. We're
Hmm.
having Hortas for dinner tonight. On the barbecue grill. It was just like,
I
yeah,
mean,
Dad, it is. As a matter of fact, thank you. I was totally enjoying it. But I mean, he's the one who got me to watch Planet of the Apes. So as much as he
oh yeah.
gave shit like that a hard time, he still said, "Hey, you got to watch this movie." Well, what's it about? Just watch. Just watch till the end. Sun and Green is people. Um, and Rollerball and Silent Running, all those great classics. I mean, it was weird too because it was the era of the TV guide. It's like he'd like read the TV guide for me, and I'd walk in the door. It'd be like 3:30. When I was in like middle school. He's like, "Hey, Sun and Green's on. Watch it." What? Yeah, Channel 5, 3:30. Turn it on. Like, okay.
I remember when TV guides were like a real thing. It's where you'd look at to see what was going to be, the fall lineup or whatever.
The '90s was an era I completely missed when it came to TV. Um, a good portion of the '90s, I was in a military town in Virginia. They had 3 channels, and one of them was the Gomer Pyle channel. And when they weren't playing Gomer Pyle, it was Petticoat Junction or I mean, it was just military,
Oh,
old military TV shows, F Troop, and so I was just playing. Uh, Not even PlayStation. It was I think it was the 3DO when I had time to be in front of a screen. It was like the 3DO. I was playing like Gex, the Gecko game, Space Hulk, a bunch of other like games that weren't even like RPGs for the most part because they just didn't really have any. But I was still playing video games. Uh, yes, Michael Garibaldi still knows who Daffy Duck is in 2260. That was a really fun thing
yeah.
to add and to probably pitch to Warner Brothers like, hey, we want to use Daffy Duck in an episode. What? Is it Babylon 5 guys, right? Yeah, Babylon 5 guys. Yeah, yeah. We want to use Daffy Duck on a freaking episode. We'll send over some paperwork. You know, it was cute. That whole show was light years ahead of its time, and now light years old, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Babylon 5, like you never do that. Uh, there's now an official B5 YouTube channel that's putting up all the episodes. Yeah, I saw that. Cool, but I bought them. Back in the day, I got the movies, the whole bit. Um, One of these days, I'll watch them again. I don't know when that day is because the next thing I'm going to watch is either Red Dwarf again, Blake Seven when I get it, or the Solomon Kane movie. Fucking love that movie. Love that movie. And speaking of Solomon Kane,
I almost threw that movie on last night just for something to watch.
I
Oh
just
boy.
got this. Look at this fucking thing. This is just the miniatures and 20 cardboard floor tiles.
Where'd you pick that up at?
Monolith Games, half price. They sold out now. But I got the game and the vault, they call it. The only thing I didn't get was the dice tray and the overpriced set of 7 dice for $25. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
I picked up a couple of the boxes that I just found because I wanted the minis, but they're the French versions
Of
of Solomon Kane.
by who the hell made this Monolith?
Yeah, let me go. I'll grab it.
I wonder if it's the same game and where's my copy's downstairs. Yeah, we used to call that the cornucopia of death. Bad news. I never really got into Petticoat Junction or F Troop. I watched Gomer Pyle just because reasons. Yeah, it's the same thing I got.
But it's in French because it was like
Oh,
some
okay.
seller. But I can't.
100 miniatures.
No, it is not that main game. These are add-ons that were just.
Oh, okay. Because uh,
So I don't have the main game. I just got the. This one has like abominations.
mhm.
I don't know what it is. It's just they had the translated thing,
Uh-huh.
and then the other one is like I think more Native Americans, and then I don't know if you can tell by the picture.
It's
But I
upside
just
down.
was like they were dirt cheap, and I was like, oh, I think it was a miniature market sale a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. Because I got this stuff from Miniature Market as well. I got the core rule book or the rule book with the slipcase and the DM screen. I wish I would have known it was Savage Worlds or Savage, yes, the game system, but I'll still
Oh, is
read
that
it.
is that Savage World system meant to go with it with the board
Yeah,
game?
that's the rules for it. Yeah,
Oh, because I thought it was a separate. I don't know.
yeah. But someone on Arbiter's Archive or whatever
Mhm.
told me, "Hey, it's all half price." I went over there, and it was like I may have paid a little over 100 plus shipping for everything, and they shipped it the next freaking day. I was like, "Holy crap!" I got it in like literally like 4 or 5 days. It was at my door, and even for miniature market, that's it's kind of awesome. Normally miniature market, like I opt for the cheap shipping.
Hmm.
So it's like 2 weeks before they even send it out the door. Uh, but it's free. So whatever. Here they didn't give me the option of free, but you know, the box of 100 minis and the tiles, the slip cover,
Man.
the book, the DM shield. It's like $100.
See, now I don't know whether to be upset that I missed it or glad because I didn't spend the money. But I think I'm more.
Like
I
I said,
wouldn't
I
care about.
I, I only bought it for because literally there's probably more lore in the Solomon Kane RPG than is in the actual books. You know what I
Well,
mean? Because I've
yeah.
got the Solomon Kane complete. This is everything he wrote, and it's like 200 pages. You know, there's really not a lot, but I for whatever reason, I kind of like Solomon Kane better than Conan. Um, it's probably a pants thing. Um,
Yeah. Well, he had a cool hat too.
It did. I've actually got one saved on Etsy, leather that I might actually get this year for September October kind of thing. I don't know if I could wear the frilly shirt though, but
You could
we'll
probably
see.
get away with it on Halloween. But
Right, but yeah.
show me. Yeah.
But it's like
Otherwise,
$150 for the hat though. Like
otherwise it looks like you're probably trying to be a vampire or something.
right.
The hunting one.
It was so funny. I mean, do you remember that New Row era?
The what?
The New Row. It was called New Row, like New Romantic. It's kind of like a Duran Duran met Pirates of the Caribbean dress code that existed for a while in the 80s. Probably not where you
I
lived.
I did not partake.
Well, nor did I, but I do remember seeing it and like, oh, you're not coming over to my house.
Yeah.
It was like pre-goth, post-punk, Duran Duran wannabe, but even Duran Duran wouldn't have dressed that gay if you paid him.
Yeah.
It was
Like
just,
dudes with too many dangly earrings and eyeshadow.
well, not just that, but the frilly shirts, the pirate boots. They were clearly girls' boots, but they wore them anyways, and shit like that. And it was
Kind of
actually
like
kind of hard to tell.
yeah, kind of like you're going to a Ren fair kind of stuff.
Kind of, with more makeup, less body odor, and harder to tell the boys from the girls. There was always that joke during the 60s. I can't tell if you're a boy or a girl. Really? The beard threw it off for you, huh? Okay. But there was always that joke because of the long hairs, back in the 70s. But here is like, it was all, just shoulder length, both sides, but lots of freaking makeup. And like you said, the earrings and the frilly shirts and the pirate boots. Oh, and the sashes. Oh, everybody was wearing a sash. I'm like, did you get a cutlass with that sash? I mean, where do you even buy a sash? It's like an ascot. Where do you buy an ascot? It was very
Probably
funny
at secondhand stores, maybe. I don't know.
because I knew this one guy, Eric.
Oh,
He was a really cool guy, right? His actually name was Eric Larson, just like the other Eric Larson, but not the same guy. And one day I'm like, he's like, what? Because he was like totally metal, right? And I bumped into him, like, dude, what the hell happened? He's like, don't worry about it, man. I'm just going over. They had this place called Old World. It was like an artist colony, designed after a little German town, but hidden away. You can find it on the maps in Orange County. This little place called Old World. He's like, dude, hear me out, man. Uh, every Friday and Saturday night, I go over to Old World, dressed like a freaking pirate, and I get to make out with all these chicks when they're not too busy making out with the other chicks. It's fucking awesome. And I'm like, oh my god. And sure enough, I went there. just before sundown, and in every freaking doorway, just couples. You just like, and if they weren't, they're sitting on the benches looking for, a prospective, smooching partner. And it was just the freaking weirdest thing. And it only lasted like maybe a year or two before everybody's parents smacked the shit out of them and some sense into them. Uh, but it was pretty amusing.
That was his. What do you want? Like a
Chris,
hunting costume to get disguise yourself to get in there, and it's like I don't know,
yeah, I think it was very.
camouflage.
It was definitely pre Vampire the Masquerade, but only by a few years, maybe by a decade.
Oh,
Um, Chris, I can one up that Waltons and Little House on the Prairie. Um, do yourself a favor and don't Google Apple's Way. It was the Timu version of a mixture of the two, but in the modern era. Okay, imagine that kind of a show in the '70s. Um, the Waltons, Little House on the Prairie, little middle America, Midwest town of just nonstop, wholesome values um, that nobody watched because I think it lasted about 6 episodes, maybe. Um, and the only reason I know about it was because my Adam 12 lunchbox got broken, so my mom went to the store to get me a new lunchbox, and all they had were Apple's Way, and I mean nobody knew. The only thing worse was my Bobby Sherman lunchbox, but I had that in kindergarten. I didn't know who the fuck that guy was. None of my, it's like he was like the pre Sean Cassidy, you know, um, and going to school with that was just like it's just like one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And the worst part about it was nobody even noticed or cared. It's like, "Ooh, you got the chaos apple way lunchbox." Nobody said that, but in
yeah.
my head, I'm just like, "Oh my god, everybody's looking at my lunchbox." No, no, they really weren't. They're too busy with their own.
I
You
had
know,
a King Kong one for a while. Still wish I had that.
I wish I had my Adam 12 lunchbox. That was literally like kindergarten or first grade. Oh, and I had the just most massive crush on this girl for so many years. And I got to walk to school with her, every day until she got popular and people realized how pretty she was. And then she was like literally, what was her name? Like Blair from The Facts of Life, the obvious stunner in the show. She was just like her, but not as like arrogant and shit. And then that's the way it was like all through like elementary school, and then um, middle school and high school that bubble was popped, and she came crashing down because there were more kids. Therefore, she wasn't the prettiest girl in school anymore. She wasn't even in. She probably made the top 10, but I mean at that middle school there was like girls from every walk of life there, and she's just it was sad. Her rise and fall from stardom, um, and then high school she just completely disappeared. Just
Yeah.
like you poor thing, As a matter of fact, I remember years later. I mean, like years later, I was like out of college. She was still living in her mom and dad's house, just and because she was the middle girl, and just still crushed from that. Just like never married, just was really, or maybe she had gotten married and divorced and had to move back home. It'd been so long. But I remember driving by, I'm like, no way. She's still living with mom and dad? It's been
Yeah.
freaking 20 years. Um, what the fuck, dude? I guess people really did pyrate at that place. Dude, I don't know whether to be freaking impressed or ashamed. That's that is such a long. Like I had to think about that, man. I had to. It's like, oh dear God, and you probably just like blinked and there it was, right? Oh, that's an
If
easy joke for me. Look at the this just the
if he's not,
this.
he'll do well as a dad.
I'm telling you, man. Just
He's already mastered one skill of it.
dude, that's like S tier level dad joke.
Didn't.
Wow, fuck. It's really good, Dean. Really good. I hope you're doing well, man. Um,
Um,
there's a lot of us out there. A lot of you guys, I really do worry about. Um, no names, but uh, getting old. Just never thought I would be here, man. Just I still, like think with my 17-year-old brain. I think I don't know. Just
yeah, it's like I'm not getting older; just my body is.
yeah. Well, I know with like females, or at least that's what I learned in psychology class. Their first time is when they stop maturing, kind of thing, or stop growing to a certain point, or at least part of them at least, like a big chunk of their who they are. It just like stops. The first time they
Mhm.
do the deed, and I'm like, I hope that's not the case for me, because well, it would explain a lot. But it would also be a miracle that I made it this far with a 14-year-old brain. Um, so hopefully it's not the case for us fellas, because I mean, then again, it would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Right?
I mean, depends on which head you think with at that time.
So, how's your speed stick speeder coming along?
I messed it up. The paint got all messed up and bubbled, so I went and bought another thing and started over yesterday. But I got most of the idea. I just gotta do the gluing and the all that fun
Hmm.
stuff.
Looking forward to seeing what you got.
Jazz up. Jen, I think is already done. She she got on it right away. We were like, well, we got a month, and then
Mhm.
I
I've still got all my parts exactly like I showed them off 2 weeks ago. I'll do it tonight when I'm in game, because I am worried about the spray paint. That is the big issue. Um, you kind of really got to primer it, then paint it. Um, but it's rough because you really want that smooth, perfect, you
yeah,
know.
I messed
But
up because I left it out in the sun to dry,
mm,
and it was almost 120 here the other day with the
mhm,
radiation UV warning, and so it's the paint got all bubbled,
mhm,
and the thing kind of just sitting on a table got warped. So I was
mhm.
like, well, it
Well,
looked
you might be able to turn it into a crash site.
well. I just said no. I'm gonna get another. Dollar store,
Hmm.
buy another one, and start again. And I messed up too by just trying to paint the color I wanted. I was like, no, I should have based it with white first because it's the speed stick thing I found was orange. So painting over the other color just looks terrible. So
Yeah, but it's
start
alien,
again.
so who's gonna know, right? Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go out and do mine, and wait until it's not so hot for the primer, and hope to God I still have some primer that works. I find that in this heat, my spray cans just freaking freeze up, and I can never. I don't know what I've tried everything trying to clean the caps, but they clog, and I can't unclog them. I've tried needles. I've tried soaking the cap. Everything you can think of. It's just. I put a cap in LA's Awesome for like a week, and I couldn't get it to work.
Mm.
Couldn't unclog it.
Oh, And then another fun accident the other day when I was trying to paint these things was clogged.
Mm-hmm.
So I squeezed
Mm-hmm.
it and the whole thing went.
Get yourself uh, ask your mom or your grandma if she's got an extra crochet needle.
I have things I had a one of those dental tools that you got from
Mhm.
Harbor Freight or something to try to dig it out, and I thought it was clean, so I did that, and then the lid had separated a little bit, so when I turned it, it would just. So
Bloosh.
then it's like, okay, I got this mess, cleaned most of it up. What else needs this color?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's one of those things, but it's been exceptionally warm.
Yeah, 120 is pretty rough, man. It's
Well,
pretty
earlier
rough.
when personally, I mean, well, you know where I live. I live right outside of Joshua Tree National Park.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a mile away. But I was like, I do not like this heat. And then some of my I is in the garage is where I do some of the crafting, and I was like, I have to leave the door open to let air through because it's not air conditioned garage.
Right.
It's a
Same
bakery.
here. It's literally hotter than it is outside, right?
Well, I got fans running in there to kind of try to keep it a little, but
It like
it's
if you
about
leave
five
a garage
degrees.
door, like if I leave my garage door closed, it will be hotter in the garage than it is outside. Because I mean, and it's partially insulated, but partially not, which is basically means it's not. You know, and so I'll first thing in the morning I go and I open the garage door, and it keeps the air conditioner from coming on 24/7 during the day or whatever all day long. But the wife, she's like, every chance she gets, she closes the fucking door, and I'm like, okay, go in the garage. She's like, why? Because you'll see how much hotter it is in the garage than it is outside, and how it raised the electric bill by forcing the AC to be on because it's heating up the house. I don't know why. I don't understand why the garage just does that.
It's like a
Uh,
radiator kind of thing almost.
I don't know. It's just it's an oven in there, and I've got very expensive books and ammo and other things. And the last thing I want is for it to get over 100 degrees in the garage. I don't even want it to be over 80, but I live in the desert. Nothing I can do about it. It's gonna happen. But she's like, people can see in our garage. They're gonna think it's a mess. I'm like, don't fucking care. Have they ever come over to you and went, shame on you, your garage is a mess? No, and it's not a mess. There's a car in it, and there's shelves on both sides of the door, of the walls that they can see. There's shelves. There's stuff on them. Yeah, but look at everybody else's garage. Yeah, they're poor. They don't own anything. Their garages are empty. They're poor. Right?
A lot of people around here, they have almost nothing in their garages, but some of them it's because they are, well, where I live, they're military families, so they don't have a lot of crap. They move a lot. But
And not
mine,
only that, but they're also maybe in their younger 30s,
yeah,
low 40s, and so they just haven't they come from a different era and generation where, well, they got their PlayStation, their computer, and the kitchen's full. That's all they need. That's
yeah,
cool, but in an emergency, if they come over here asking for a fire extinguisher, you know don't be surprised. Or if they want to borrow a ladder, all these things, it never happens. But, back in the day, that was a thing. And they just don't own anything, hell, even the wife, she owns more clothes than the rest of the family combined. I mean, and that's me, my boy, and
yeah.
grandma. I mean, she's got a walk-in closet. It's insane. Come
Well,
on in, Dean. How's it going?
It's
Where
going
is
all
it?
it's going all right. I just finished eating a burger.
No, I'm jealous. I'm not sure what we're doing for dinner, but I had breakfast sausage and eggs, and I forgot to do something to the pan, so the eggs got kind of stuck to the pan. But it's like
Hmm.
I've gotten to the point where when I make eggs, I don't even use salt, pepper. It's just literally two eggs scrambled. That's it. No no
Mm.
butter, no salt, no
I mean, that
pepper.
is the advantage with scrambled egg that it has its own taste. So unless you don't like eggs, that's enough
Right,
flavor.
right. And
But
then
I will say a little, if it didn't mess with my stomach, I would add a little cayenne pepper, just a little bit.
A little
it's just
cayenne pepper, is that what you said?
Yeah,
I like regular pepper, probably too much. I put
yeah,
pepper on
we
fries.
do the peppercorn grinder thing. Freaking love it. Just
Mm.
love that shit. And the pink Himalayan salt. Never going back to we do iodized salt for popcorn. But that's it. It's like,
mm.
and I bet it would be good on popcorn, but it's not really you know
Yeah,
you'd
I
really
prefer
have
my
to.
popcorn just with salt. Butter is fine, but I just like the salt and like the texture popcorn has.
I love popcorn, but to get the salt to stick, you got to use some butter.
Mm,
And it's like the wife's family. They don't know what butter is. They had a dairy farm, but they don't know what butter is, or at least she doesn't. She thinks it's made out of poison, and I'm like, it's just milk. It's
Really?
literally just milk. I think they add one thing to it, right? Make butter in the churn.
if I remember correctly, you don't actually need to add anything. It's more like if you want cheese or yogurt, you have to add even if the milk is alive, you still have to add something to start the fermentation process in the direction
The
you want.
culture or the yeast or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I remember going to this farm and the Knott's Berry farm and stuff where they would have a butter churn and it's just milk and they just freaking it's like shaking it until it becomes a solid,
Mm,
you know, literally. It's just
yeah.
like no, that can't be true. And I'm like, it's
It's
literally
just, oh my God, sorry. I just
right.
realized what you said. It's just shaking it until it becomes solid. But I digress.
Uh-huh.
So is this a cheeseburger or just a plain hamburger?
Oh, it was
Nice
a
segue.
I'm
cheeseburger.
hungry. I just want to hear about the story about the sounds.
It's from a local place that
Oh,
what do you call it? So it is frozen patties, but it's like patties they made themselves and then frozen.
mm,
And it was like two patties with ketchup, some kind of barbecue sauce, a little bit of mayo, and then and then normally there would also be like onion, cucumbers, and salad in it. But I will admit I don't like how theirs tastes by the end of the day. So I just say, yeah, just give me the burger with condiments,
So cucumbers or pickles?
actual cucumbers,
mm.
That's
like
weird. Yeah.
sliced.
I've never had that.
Mike and I both were like,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, over here we do both. We also do like cucumber-sized pickles sometimes. Instead of like the small, it is actually full size.
mm. I'm not
it's
a
just
mayo
kind of
person, but everything else, barbecue sauce, little. I like mustard on my hamburgers.
I uh ketchup, mustard, and mayo is actually freaking amazing. All
I
three.
don't. I'm not a mayo person at
I
all.
agree.
Um,
But
uh, this place called Wiener Schnitzel. That's what they do. That's how their burger is different because they put lettuce, tomato, onions, and pickles and cheese, but it's ketchup, mustard, and mayo. And by the time you get it, it's actually turned into basically secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically what Thousand Island is. Thousand Island is ketchup and mayo with relish thrown in it because that's what they had at the restaurant. That's literally how Thousand Island became a thing. Is like, well, we got ketchup, we got mayo, and someone just mixed them until they got the right thing. And that's actually what I prefer now. Is like if I go to In and Out on the way out, I'm like, hey, can I get some? They call it spread, which is really weird. Can I get a couple of packets of spread? Like how many? I need 6. They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I walk right out the freaking door with them, and then I put them on my burgers when I make them at home. But like I go, hey, the wife or Jack, hey, go up to the counter and ask for some spread. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, well then don't ask for any of mine next week or the next day or whatever
I
when I'm
will
making.
give her credit. A woman asking for a spread is usually not a good idea.
Again, what you do. You just came here to stir shit up, didn't you? That was really good. But I bought dressing grocery store. It's not the same. It's close. It'll do in a pinch, but the other's one's superior to the other. One's flesh colored, one's orange. I don't know how that happened, but that's just the way it is. I prefer the in and out version, and um, you know they get mad when I'm using like the last one or I don't share. I'm like, you had your chance. I warned you this would happen. All you had to do was get up and ask.
Mm.
I mean, does that make me the bad guy?
I mean, there
You
is
know, I'll
a
share
reason.
with the person.
I mean, there is a reason why what do you call it that restaurant went viral for having a add-on menu called "My Girlfriend Isn't Hungry."
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, the weirdest part about the whole thing is, like, I'd be okay if I only ate there like once or twice a year, but she wants to go like once every 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks.
So
We
once
do
a month.
Fridays. Yeah, we do burgers every Friday for a decade. You know, uh, and I'm okay making them at home. I'm totally fine. Even, you know, but when we go, I'm like, hey, you know, this was your idea, and you like them so much. I mean, literally at home, I can make the same damn burger. The only thing they got different is the bread and the sauce. That's literally it. Okay. Um, you want the sauce, you got to go ask for extra. Like I said, I'll share like the next week. I've got like 6 packages. Okay, I'll share. But when's the last one or the last two? Fuck you. They're mine. I did the work. I thought ahead. It's the same thing with like certain things at restaurants. Like I'll like if we go to a restaurant, I'll order something that I know I'm going to have leftovers with. You know, or I'll order leftovers and take them home, and they're like, "Why'd you do that?" Because I want this tomorrow. Huh? And then tomorrow rolls around. It's like, can I have one? Like, no. Why not? Because you didn't think of it. I told you yesterday, I'm going to do this. You want some? You order some for you, right? I mean, it's amazing how few people think ahead, and how by just thinking a little farther ahead, the next day is awesome. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
what I usually do is Chili's makes. You've been to Chili's, right, Mike?
Oh yeah, I don't have one
Southwest
around.
egg rolls. The,
Those
the
are
Southwest egg rolls.
yes.
Fucking next day in the air fryer. I mean, it's basically like a fried burrito, but with certain ingredients like chicken, black beans, spinach, some other stuff, and a chipotle sauce. Deep fried until they're crispy, and there you go with some dipping sauce. Freaking love those. Sometimes I'll just go and order like 2 orders of that, and like, yeah, that's all I want. Okay, and one of them's to go, and everybody's like, "You fucker!" Like, yeah, hey, I'm paying, so shut up. You order what you want,
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of what my Jen does at when we go to Olive Garden because she likes Italian. She'll get the meal to go, so she has something the next day.
I
Right?
will also say, Shadow, your what do you call it, extra orders or vanity orders, as some people call them. They're not as bad as what I heard some people order, where it's like you want the cook out in the back, yell very loudly so it gets picked up by the mic. Hey, Shadow, tell them they're gonna get fat.
Mm-hmm.
Like your orders are nothing compared to actual vanity orders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just growing up as a kid, fast food and stuff like that, or even going to a restaurant was like kind of like a big deal. You know,
Yeah,
it wasn't just like everyday thing. It was like, we were lucky if we went like once a month. At different points of our life, and obviously the difference between fast food and a nicer restaurant. was farther and fewer in
Hey,
between.
Pizza Hut was a nice place.
It
Right,
actually
right. It
was
really
for a
was.
while.
It was back in the day. You either
Back
got
in
your
the
little
90s
booklet
and before,
coupon for
yeah.
your free,
Hmm.
where you saved your quarters so you could play Galaga.
It still amuses me. Like someone made like oh look, they gave USDA aid gave money to like revamp what do you call it, Pizza Hut, and they quickly had to like put out a statement. No, that's actually not what the money was used for, because there's like that narrative that goes on that like the government ruined Pizza Hut to spite people. Also, Shadow looks a little judgmental right now.
That
There
Froze.
we go. Now he's back.
was weird. I didn't
You're
realize
striking a pose.
yeah, I didn't realize you guys are frozen for like a minute. But yeah, Pizza Hut's trying to bring them back and refurbish them and bring back that whole dining experience. Where you sit, you get the like shakies, the different things, the salad bar, the whole bit, right? And it seems to actually be like catching on. People are like, yeah, let's do that. Let's go to the pizza place, sit down, eat a pizza, and a salad, and whatever, and just like do that instead of you know I guess order the pizza delivered at home and uh, wolf it down, and then everybody goes off to their different perspective electronic gadget that's going to occupy the rest of their evening. Um, and it's actually kind of catching on and doing well. I hope more restaurants do that and bring that back. But here in California, it's just so bloody expensive. It really um, $20 burger, fries, and drink. That's pre-COVID. It was $5, $6. For your basic number one meal, a burger, fries, and a drink. It was about $6. Now it's 20.
Yeah, it's almost like COVID was a bailout of the economic system, and we got to pay the bill.
Mm-hmm. And we're still paying it.
Yeah.
And for us, $20 an hour minimum wage for all fast food restaurants, where everything else doesn't have that stipulation on the minimum wage. Um, but yet nobody's hiring at the minimum wage restaurants because nobody's
No,
going there anymore.
and most places don't hire people full time hardly anymore. It's
Hmm.
part time.
Because they can't.
Uh,
They
I
can't
mean, that
because
already started back with the Affordable Health Care Act. And then people like, okay,
Mhm.
only 32 hours and overtime. Like, I know that was mostly corporations doing that, but still,
it's
that's when it
crazy.
started.
We go by
Well,
our
most bar restaurants.
McDonald's.
I was
We
gonna,
drive by it.
I was gonna say, in where I live, well, we only have like McDonald's and then Jack in the Box, and then a couple of Del Taco, Taco Bell. But they don't stay open as late as they used to, and it seems like they open a little bit later. Some of them, because you only want to be open during the peak hours.
Our Jack in the Box is 24 hours.
I think
Other
ours is
places,
still, but it's a lot pricier.
right, right. But like we drive by the McDonald's, and it used to be we drive by a McDonald's and the line would be pretty far. We've driven by 10 times, and there's no one in the drive-through. Like no one. It's just like um, that. I think is going to be like the first place to go under. Is going to be McDonald's when it comes. At least, I mean, In and Out is about ready to jump ship and leave California. Um, the whole we're just moving corporate headquarters to Louisiana or Tennessee or whatever. You don't do that. If your main hub of the business is in California, unless you're planning on leaving California.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. before they just like Taco Bell's about to go out of business. El Pollo Loco. Uh, we've seen several El Pollo Locos with a sign saying, they're closed, temporarily closed due to repairs, and there's no repairs going on. There's literally no repairs going on in the place, and this has been for like 2 months.
Yeah,
They've
that
been
sounds
closed.
like yeah, that sounds like they're trying to run out the lease or something like that. Because a lot of
Mhm,
fast food places don't actually. Okay, maybe the head franchise owned the place, but like the lower level, they don't own it. They lease it.
mhm. And it's right
Also,
next
what's the
to a Burger
IHOP
King.
on Applebee's? What kind of food is that?
International House of Pancakes, and Applebee's is like an upscale kind of Denny's,
Oh, that's and
kind
what's
of.
a Denny's?
A Denny's is like you just your basic diner,
Yeah, like a diner go.
coffee.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is a franchise diner. Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, I was actually watching the video on the history of Sambo's. You remember that place,
I hadn't heard that in years.
right? It's an interesting story of fuckery. I remember eating there once or twice as a kid, not knowing, what we know, and definitely not knowing about um, their shenanigans going on with, bilking the managers out of 20 grand, franchisees and stuff that were
Oh,
never gonna.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it's
at
funny.
one point.
I was going to say our local Denny's went out of business, but then it reopened as a Benny's. And so they,
That's
and I
funny
guess,
because our Sambos turned into a Denny's, and I remember when it did. Um, but at one time, Sambo's had over 1,000 restaurants across the United States.
yeah, I thought that disappeared decades ago.
No, it did. Yeah, I was like, I don't even think I was 10. It was in the mid 70s that it stopped being a thing. Um, and Dean, for you, if you're not aware, Sambo's was sort of kind of based. The two guys' name combined, Sam and Bo,
Ah,
but it had nothing to do with that really, or it did or it didn't. But there were this series of books written by a lady in India about a little black boy named Sambo, and it became kind of synonymous with like another word that starts with I and we're not allowed to say here in this country at least. You can say it in Nigeria, but you can't say it here. Um, and
Oh,
it was like a derogatory term, but not as bad
mm.
as other
I,
words.
I, I
And
mean, over here, Sambo is also like a word for not just people of Africa, but people with like really fuzzy hair.
mhm, mhm. And it was just a kids book written by a lady, a series of kids books, but the whole restaurant had that kind of artwork in it. Even
Ah,
even kids masks, like paper masks. You'd walk in the door and they'd give your kid this mask made out of paper that was that face. It was like really insensitive, but at the same time, like, it was kind of like, we're all having fun here. We don't mean it in a bad way. These books are nice, educational and stuff, but it was just like really bad
I
taste.
wasn't aware of that. I just knew. So it's like the blackface of restaurants or something.
But it was owned by two white
Or
guys
what was it?
who just
The old minstrel show had the makeup thing. Wow.
and yeah, all of that and more, in 1970s, 60s, 70s America, and the walls were painted up with images from the children's books, with tigers and Indian kids and black kids, just doing jungle shenanigans, but it made freaking millions and millions of dollars.
Was it?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I can see here, like quick Wikipedia search that it peaked in 1977, and in 1981 they declared the title level bankruptcy. And then, like a few years later, the last shops had like closed or rebranded.
Yep. Sun something, I think maybe, or I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, it was just uh, different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Certain things were
But
more
that
or
does
less.
explain why it says that it's societally collapsed or
Yes,
socially
it
collapsed.
was. It was really, I mean, they could have done anything. It wasn't the iconic, the imagery that did what it did. It, it had a premise. It had one basic thing. They wanted to make a place where you could go in any time of day and get a 10-cent cup of coffee that didn't suck, and then get a couple of pancakes. And I mean, it was literally Denny's and every other diner. It was like the model.
Yeah.
Every diner
I
does
will
what they
say when
did.
I hear that, of course, right now I can't be physically hungry, but it does make me spiritually hungry. I love figuratively hungry, I suppose it's more the right term.
But I mean, I ate there a couple times. Didn't know any better. Didn't care. It was good food. Love the smell of the coffee and the eggs and the hash browns and all that shit cooking. Um, Clean vinyl seats. I had that sort of 50s sort of a diner aesthetic with the booths and the chairs and the bar. The whole thing. But you
The
know,
waitress calling you hun and all that.
yep, sugar. Yeah, the whole bit. And um, we haven't been to a Denny's in forever because, I mean, a cup of coffee is like $47. It's like it's ridiculous. I mean, I
Nope.
go in there. I've ordered the same thing for probably the better part of 20 years, which is the moons over my hammy. Okay, it's just a grilled sourdough breakfast sandwich, eggs, ham, cheese on sourdough bread, grilled cheese, type sandwich, and hash browns. The same thing, and I can make that at home, and I can pretty much make the same thing at home for like $1.80, But there's like, you're kidding me, right? It's $20 for a couple of eggs, a couple of slices of bread, cooked by some jackass in the kitchen. I can be that jackass, for $20 an hour. I will make moons over my hammy all day long. Not even bat an eye if I had to, but you got to have a college degree apparently to do that.
Or be on parole, because there's quite a few of those guys that work in the kitchen.
Wow, that was fucking funny, dude.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
Jen, how you doing? Moon over Miami. You love it, right? And let me ask you, Jen, do you save the hash browns for last? Because with the ketchup, it's dessert. I totally do that. And not only that, but I beg them, please, for the love of all that is holy, can you make my hash browns actually brown? Can you cook them right? Don't give me a bunch of freaking white potatoes that vaguely look beige, cooked on the top, but still completely uncooked in every other part of the hash browns. It's like, do you know how to cook hash browns? They're supposed to be crispy, okay? A little bit of mushy potato in the inside layer of the hash brown thing. Yeah, can you do that? Do I need to go in and show the cook how to freaking cook hash browns so your tip won't suck? And every time they don't even
I
fucking
mean,
care.
if it was a Waffle House, you could afford the cook, but
Right,
but
right.
it's not.
I've never been to a restaurant, or I haven't been to a restaurant in the last 20 or 30 years that gets them right. They just don't fucking care. Um, or that's the way they like them. I'm like, is that the way you like hash browns? She's like, no, not me personally. Never eat hash browns. Or they'll say something, like that's not what hash browns are supposed to look like. Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I would say hash browns aren't that hard to make, especially when you get them pre-packaged. Like I tried to make them at home, and I could do it.
No, because you're right. It is hard. You've got to use the right amount of butter and the right amount of patience. But that's the thing is it's like cooking corned beef hash, or anything that you want crispy. You gotta be patient. It's gonna take a bit. You can't
Yeah.
just flip like a burger and go out the door with it. Yes, I am babysitting Mike for a little while longer. Um, but like a lot of things like that, like French fries lately at certain restaurants, it's like they've got the bare minimum time. I'm like, can you make them well done? I go to this one place, and she's like, I go, she's like, what do you want? And it's like, the regular. She's like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember now. Um, and you got to do that. I mean, we used to be able to say that. What do you have? The usual. Okay, and they would know. Now it's like 99 out of 100 times the places I go, like, I don't know what that is. What do you want? The same thing I ordered last Friday and the last 52 Fridays. The same exact thing. I don't know what that is. Like, you were the guy who took my order. You should, you know, maybe work on that memory. Maybe have a little fish every now and then. Um,
Mike, I didn't know we are babysitting you, so I'm obligated to give you an energy drink and teach you how to slur.
All right.
But yeah, I get what you mean, Cheryl. But I also get like the cook that like, okay, it's a fast food place. He's just there to catch a paycheck. He's not there to be a culinary dude.
right, but if it's a restaurant, not a fast food place,
Oh yeah,
you know,
then yeah.
it's like
If you're a
uh,
regular, yeah.
not even a regular. If I go in, if I say, "Can I have my hash browns done well done?" They should like. It's gonna take more than 5 minutes. I'm okay waiting. Okay, you can bring me my hash browns when they're done, because I'm not gonna eat them until the end, anyways. It's like you can bring my hash browns when they're ready. Go
Yeah.
ahead and bring my sandwich, but because the hash browns are gonna take longer than it's gonna take to cook everything else on this order. If it's done right, and if it's done right,
I was gonna
you'll
say
get
it
a nice
should be easy
fancy
if I go someplace because I order the same thing almost every time. Try to find the one
Mhm.
thing I like. Just keep it simple.
Mhm.
Although I'll look at the menu for the whole time, pretend, but
Yeah, I mean, half the time, like, yeah, I know. I already know what I'm getting when I get up and get in the car. It's like I already know. I don't care what they have. They can have the newest, brand newest, shiniest, crispiest, freaking most unhealthy food on the planet. I'm probably still going to order what I set my mind to when I decided, hey, we're going to such and such. Cool. And now, thank you guys very much for the food segment of this show. I now have to find a way to have an awesome blossom delivered to my house.
To be fair, we are 3 hours and 12 minutes into the stream, so getting food is
It
now
is
the goal.
lunchtime. I am getting a little package, so I'm going to say farewell, gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It's always a pleasure. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
and I hope to
Uh,
hear more about your intrigue game. Maybe I'll be able to join in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Always. We've played together. You're always a joy to have at the table. Um, I will keep you guys posted, but I do have some work to do on it. Thanks to your queries and Raymond A. Feast's inspiration, which I will be talking about more tomorrow in the morning show. Even though I said I wasn't going to talk about it for content, I'm gonna because I love it. It's such a good book. Happy trails, everybody. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.